Any of us that's been in the field or been deployed, women start to become more attractive when you're stuck out in the fucking field with them.
Yeah, deployment goggles. A deployment 10 is usually like a civilian 5 or 6.
4 or 5, yeah. And it's weird to see. I've seen this happen to myself, where there's a girl in our unit that is like, I would never. So when you're out there for a month or two, you're like, I 100% will. It's just like, it's just your perspective fucking changes. It's like they start to the way they look changes, and it's weird.
When we first started getting females in the infantry, I saw it slowly happen. They first hit, and everybody was like,
ugh.
And then after 6 months, we'd go on another field up for a few weeks, and little whispers, people being like, "Would you? I would. I think I would."
It's interesting because it's such a deep-rooted evolutionary trait in people, in human beings, that like the things that we would not want in somebody become something that we will want. We accept. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Barracks Party, and we are finally joined with our retarded cousin, Doc. Welcome back, buddy. He's back.
Feels so good.
He's back from his sex change operation. I'm so glad you recovered, man.
Yeah, I have a penis now.
So, if for those that don't know, Doc was he was trying a new experimental medical procedure which required putting something in his ass, and put him out of commission for several months.
In other words, I was just on a regular Navy deployment.
In other words, the green weenie fucked them again. Sent him off.
It was definitely blue weenie. The blue weenie is way bigger than the green weenie.
Okay.
In our world.
Dude,
Gross.
you had one fun, I wouldn't say fun, but you had
This is the worst deployment of all time.
Is this the worst deployment you've ever been on?
Of my 5 deployments, this was honestly the worst. And what's fucked up is I've been in worse situations, right? Like the deployment, if you look at the deployment, especially from like an outside perspective or like looking back on it, it really was not technically that bad. It was, and I literally couldn't put my hand on it, finger on it, tongue on it.
I couldn't put my finger on it.
There we go.
Probably tongue.
Because like even like patient wise, I was probably the busiest person on ship. I saw 20% of the ship as patients. Like,
so not
I
that
was
bad.
Fucking busy.
Well, that doesn't sound like that bad. Like 20%.
It was intense, dude. It was ridiculous.
Was a lot of that from the fucking training accident?
Only in the beginning, honestly. Well, because all the people that were in that accident weren't on the deployment. The only people that were there were the responders.
Wait a second. So the people that got hurt on this training exercise weren't even part of the deployment?
No, not anymore. After the accident.
That's right. Okay. So they were originally, but now.
Yeah.
Okay.
After the accident, they brought out a different unit. So the only people that were there that were a part of the accident itself were the responders, ultimately. Other than anyone like shipboard wise.
So
I couldn't figure out, because I would talk to patients and they would, all of them, like I would have chiefs that have been on fucking 12 deployments in the Navy, right? And shipboard ones. And they're like, this is the worst deployment I've ever been on. So many people said that. And I was talking to my chief. I'm like, we couldn't figure it out. We were like, I don't understand, because we were like, we're not in combat, right? We're not.
That's probably why.
Imminently part of it. And so for some people it was, I can understand that. But I couldn't pinpoint it. And the DRC, the Deployed Resiliency Counselor, like the day we got back, she had come up there and she was saying, she said the best description ever. And she said it wasn't one thing. It was death by 1,000 cuts. And that described it completely perfectly, because it wasn't just one. It was just one little fucking slice over and over. Just death by 1,000 cuts. That's exactly what it was.
Was it?
Because it was just little things that just fucking piled up.
Was
over
it the command?
Nonstop.
Was it the command? Was a big part
that
of
was
it?
a big part of it. My command, I had no problems with.
I'm talking about the overall command of the ship.
Oh, I knew the ship command was ass.
That could be.
I knew that
also
going
why.
into the deployment, because the amount of patients that I had from this ship prior was already really high. Like me and my doc knew that the command was pretty bad.
You ever were
It's
they
never
was
fun
it
going
were they
into.
naval? They were naval command, right?
Yeah.
You know what I've noticed? This is one thing that I've noticed over the last few years, especially since during COVID. It might have been before COVID too, but I've noticed that Navy command is probably the worst kind of command that I've seen in the military.
You know why?
Why? I don't get it.
Because one, it's the only branch that is you are guaranteed to deploy. And multiple times. Like other branches, like you might deploy, or you might like go on like a deployment, which is basically like a training or something like that, which is really not that bad. This is the only currently, like we're the only branch that you are guaranteed to deploy multitudes of times because ships are always out, right? We're always having a naval presence, right? It's a guarantee. But the Navy is also super undermanned. So you've got the stress of constant deployments. Everyone's undermanned, and all these ships are fucking broken. The Navy is only going out with, I saw an article, they're only going out with 60% of basic maintenance parts for like the deployment that they go on.
So it's basically like for Army and Marine Corps, that's like having a bunch of deadline vehicles and having to roll out with it anyway.
And being in the field constantly. Like all the time. Because outside of deployments, you've got workups, and you still got out to sea times. So like even outside of deployments, you're still out to sea a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you're constantly overworked. So you're undermanned. Most of what you're doing is fucking maintenance. Like in the Navy on ships, most of like I felt bad for the shipboard medical people because they had maintenance. Like they had to do so much maintenance shit. Like they were constantly working. Whereas, well, not me, but like the rest of my team, once they did like sick call and shit, they were done for most of the time, unless they had a surgery or something. But the medical team was like, they were getting shit on, man. Most people didn't fuck with me because they knew like I was working all the time. Like I had a million patients, people would constantly go to me, but I would still try to help out like here and there, especially on duty days. I'll do the best that I could.
So but the naval, the issues with naval command isn't just at the ship level. I've noticed that the problems come from way higher than that.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. My cousin was on the USS Roosevelt during COVID when they went to port because everybody was getting sick. And the commander was told, no, do not go to port. And he's like, we're not even on a combat deployment. We're not necessary to be out here. People on this boat are getting sick. We need to port. And he was told not to. And he said, fuck you. I'm porting anyway because these people need help. So he ported so that sailors could get actually seen outside of the ship and to keep it from spreading for even more on the ship because everyone was getting COVID. And he ended up getting relieved of command for actually looking out for his sailors.
Yeah,
he got fired for actually giving a shit about his sailors' well-being, and the higher command fucking fired him for it.
But COVID was a weird time though too.
Yeah, I know COVID was a weird time, but I mean, like, just
especially with other countries.
The whole thing about the point I was getting at was that because they ported, I think it was in Japan, was where they ended up porting. Was it Japan or was it the Philippines? I can't remember. It was an Asian country, an allied one. It wasn't like some fucking random bullshit.
Was it Guam?
Guam. That is Guam. So they ported, and he was told not to, and he's like, everybody's fucking sick. Like we can't be out to sea and be operational with this few people. So we need to port. And he was being told no. And when he ported, they relieved him of command. They kept the essential personnel, like the people that, because it was a carrier, the people that worked on the nuclear reactors and shit, they were kept on because my cousin was one of them. And I told him, I even told my cousin, I'm like, have you like talked to anybody about a mental health claim? And he's like, no, I don't need it. Because he looks at like, my cousin looks at getting disability from the VA as a handout.
Oh, he's one of those.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't need that. That's just people that's just like he looks at because he grew up thinking like disability is like for people that don't want to do anything. I'm like, no, dude, it's workman's comp. I was like, you were on a. He said your ship was on the fucking news for bullshit, and I know that your guys' mental health was not good, especially during that. Like, I'm like, how do you feel since you've been back? And he's like, I struggle a lot. I'm like, there you go.
Oh,
Like, and he's like, yeah, but I don't think I should be compensated. I'm like, bullshit, you don't. Like, you went through a fucking shit, dude. You were stuck on that boat with like you and a few other people while everyone was getting sick around you. Your commander that you liked got fired for trying to take care of you, you know?
dude, sickness on ship spreads like fucking wildfire.
Oh, it does. There's nowhere for it to go.
It does.
There were 2 times we had 2 really bad VGE, so gastroenteritis, viral gastroenteritis.
That's just,
Like you getting double dragon, like people shitting, puking everywhere.
it's so bad.
Oh, dude, it
Double
was rough.
dragon.
2, yeah, that's what we call it. And there were 2 different times. There was one that was the first one was really bad, and then the second one like wasn't terrible. I went the whole fucking deployment, even working in medical, didn't get sick. There was like 2 days where I woke up and like my stomach kind of hurt, and then like, they just sent me SIQ, and that was it. Like the next day I was fine, but like I didn't get any colds, I didn't get any sinus things. But I also treated that shit like boot camp. I never touched my face. I washed and sanitized my hands quite frequently, especially before I ate. Like I boot camped the shit out of that. As far as I eliminated the method of like one of the modes of transmission. I was not fucking around.
You weren't kidding. So
I was trying not to get sick.
avoided
And
kissing
then
all your shipmates and shit.
Then the moment I get home, first fucking week, I'm just down for the count. Like I didn't have a voice. I'm still technically coming down. I got that residual cough. Like shit, like my ear was plugged for a while because like it was in my eustachian tubes. I probably had like a sinus infection, ear infection. Like shit was ridiculous.
We were playing zombies when
blame my wife.
And we played for a couple hours. And from when we started to the end, I heard his voice go from fine to gone. In a couple hours.
He was actually
insane.
getting sick while you guys were playing.
Yes. Yeah. We were sitting there playing and everything, and he's just like, "Star, what's up, guys?" And then by the end of it, he's like, "Okay, I don't know." We're like, "Dude, holy shit!"
It was worse that next day. Like the next day, I couldn't talk at all.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't talk for about 3 days. Honestly,
There was an issue like that happened when you were gone with me. Like there was just like, I come on and he's like, "You look really bad," and I'm like, "Yeah, I feel really bad." I don't know what happened. Like I don't ever get sick like that, but this time I got fucking sick. Like I was just like, I wasn't puking. I don't know what was wrong with me, but like I physically felt sick, and I had no voice, and I was coughing. And I'm like, And he's like, you really need to fucking, like, you want to, like, try this again tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. And I was okay the next day, but, like, that day of, dude, I was fucking bad. But,
I got sick again last week, dude. Just 2 weeks later.
Everyone's been getting sick.
Alicia got side of my face was in pain.
Dude, like, Alicia got sick, too. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, is there fucking something going around right now?
I blame my wife.
It's the holidays, though. Everybody gets together with everybody and starts spreading their ickiness to each other.
But she got sick before the holidays. We weren't around anybody. Yeah. We literally weren't around anybody. She just started coughing. Oh, no, you know what it was? We had a couple days after we got back from Dallas is when she started getting sick. So she caught something on the airplane.
See,
airplanes.
I kind of brought it on myself. Like I blame my wife, but technically it was on me because she was coming off of a sickness when I got home, and I'm like, I don't care. That's not gonna stop me.
Dude, I was surprised that I didn't get when we went to Norway. I think we were either flying to Denmark or flying from Norway to Denmark. I can't remember, but it was one of those like short flights, one of those puddle jump flights for a connection. There was a guy right next to me that I swear had the plague. I thought he was going to die in the middle of the flight. He was coughing, and he was like, like that. He was right next to me.
It's fucking patient zero right
and
there.
I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm going to be sick the whole trip. Like I was like, son of a bitch. Like I got patient, like you said, patient zero right next to me for the fucking ass flu or whatever he's got. And I'm gonna catch it, and my whole fucking honeymoon's gonna be ruined. I didn't get sick at all.
Was he one that was just like letting it spread everywhere,
Yeah.
or was he like trying to put it?
Yeah.
Oh,
And eventually he would put his face in his shirt, and he was just like letting it go in there. And he was like on his
fine.
and he's working on his laptop, and then he'd be like like that, and it was just like, fuck, dude.
I hate that shit. It's coming on.
I was in the
I'll
middle row.
always have it into my arm or like usually into my shirt.
Dude, I was in the middle seat. He's in the window. Alicia's in the aisle. And I'm right next to this fucking dude. He's just letting it loose. And he's like, like that. He's like blowing his nose into fucking napkins and shit. And I'm like, I look at Alicia and I'm like, I'm fucked. And then as soon as we get, nothing happened. I never got sick. I was like, wow, okay. I don't know what the hell that was up.
Shocked.
That's always nice when you're like, all right, well, there goes my trip.
And then it never happened.
Am I not sick?
Yeah, I know.
That's when I get off the plane and I'm like, all right, I need oranges. I need what's that, vitamin C booster. I need these vitamins. I need everything for like immune support right now for the next 24 hours.
Dude, come to think of that, I did take a vitamin literally every night before I went to bed on the ship. And I think that was a big part of why I didn't get sick.
Yeah.
Because we all know the fucking food on ship is absolute garbage. I would have preferred an MRE, honestly.
Those what are they? The airborne, the vitamin C like supplement vitamins or whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
Those things are a lifesaver, dude. Like if you feel something coming and you got like a very little tickle in your throat and you're like, this could go bad. Take a couple of those, you're fine.
It's kind of pointless because if you take a regular vitamin, they say 100% of your daily dose because that's all your body can process. If you're getting more than that, your body's just getting rid of it. Like you're not.
It's the same with protein to a certain degree. Like your body can only do so much with so much protein. Because there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, protein! I just take like 100 fucking grams of protein a day and shit." And it's like, but your body's like shitting the rest of it out.
Yeah, you can only process, I think, 60 max.
Well, this is also coming from a guy that's usually beer and fast food. So
yeah, for you, your body's like, oh my God, vitamin C, this is amazing.
We can fight it.
Oh my God, he's giving us the tools to do what we need.
I drink more water now,
dude. I drink like 3 of these a day.
I don't.
I drink a lot, dude. I fucking my liquid diet consists of one coffee a day, and like 3 bottles of this, and then maybe in the evening I'll do an energy drink.
I will say I've been drinking less and getting sick more. So correlation?
Yes,
I don't know.
Actually, yes. Because your body, your cells duplicate and process within the cell, and you need water for that. Plasma. When you're dehydrated, you're not able to do that as well.
No, not drinking less water. Less alcohol.
Oh, that'll help too, yeah. Because that's
he's been getting sick more since stopping alcohol.
Yeah. I'm drinking more water.
You know what that's called,
Blake?
That's called withdrawal.
No.
Oh, that's also
I refuse.
Your liver is just not doing all that well.
Your liver's like, I need this.
Great.
You know, they did say that if you were like a bad alcoholic and you quit drinking, that'll kill you.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
You have seizures and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's why you have to either wean them off or there's a drug for it.
So more about this fucking deployment. You said that you had a lot to talk about.
Speaking of water, we had the fucking JP5 in the water incident.
Dude, fuck yes, I love that so much for you. I'm just kidding, not for you, but like, it is interesting to me that the jet fuel thing you got to experience. We've talked about it so many times, and yet here,
dude, it was insane.
And you fucking and you got to actually live it.
What I learned is fucked up is everyone was like, no, it's not true. Like, because in medical, people will come up.
They always say it's not true.
We literally can't. We cannot put it in their record because there was no quote unquote confirmation. The only confirmation is in the engineering logs, like wherever the water is done. But the CO came over the 1MC confirmed it and said that we got it handled and it's not there anymore. And I'm like, boom, who's recording now? Because I want someone to have fucking recorded that shit, because the CO came over, the one I'm seeing, said that it was basically confirmed.
And they told
and
you
I'm
not
like,
to
no
put,
one's ever gonna believe this.
and they never
like
put it.
Those I know those logs aren't gonna they're not gonna put it in there.
They told you not to put it in people's record. You know what? That's fucked up too, because it's like that's gonna come back and bite people in the ass. There are gonna be people in the future that like get cancer or whatever from.
Oh, there's probably people now. I remember when that, like the first major one on the carrier came into the news. I was on YouTube looking up I was watching the article about it, and the comments, there had people from like the Gulf War in like the 80s and 90s.
It's been a
talking
thing
about
for
like, yeah,
decades.
that's been a thing for a while. And I'm like, holy shit. The only way that this has ever gotten out into light is because of like the way social media is now.
Yeah. It's been a thing.
It's
forever.
literally been under wraps this whole time.
And they've known it. I still don't get to this day. I don't understand. Like, how does that happen?
Well, I bet you Lejeune would still be the same if it hadn't have also included civilians.
That's probably true. Yeah.
How does that? I just don't. Like Brock said, I don't get how it gets in the water.
Like, where does
like,
the cross
just
contamination
leaks
happen?
everywhere? Like,
So I don't know, because I don't work in engineering.
Because these fuel
100%.
lines, these water lines, and these fuel lines are obviously in different pipes with different systems connected separately from each other. So how is it?
Like engineering wise, I don't know, because I don't know. I'm not like DC qualified, so I don't actually know all that stuff. But I can tell you, when you're on ship, like in the laundry room, for example, you can clearly see there's a pipe and there's another pipe. Like this one will be JP5 and this one will be potable water. I'm like,
but there's no.
they're right on top of each other.
Yeah,
so
but they're metal pipes. There's no cross contamination like that.
there's got to be a way somewhere, or connections.
there's got to just be like a leak in somewhere where the pipes turn.
How about this?
To where
next
it's
to
such,
each other
it's such
and
a
it's
commonality.
dripping in.
Where do ships get
Yeah.
their water from? The sea, the ocean, right? And they
Mhm.
filtrate it.
Different ships do it different ways. Yeah.
Okay, where does the fuel? What's the word I'm thinking of? Do they dump fuel ever?
I have no idea. There's a lot of things that the Navy says that they don't know, that they don't dump, that we absolutely fucking dump.
I'm sure
I'm quite
sure
confident.
the fuel contamination is probably coming in from the water outside,
I mean, maybe.
like spilling
Well, I
over
didn't-
from.
But
Like,
it still goes through a filtration system prior to that, though. It's definitely after it's already done. Like our ship runs off of boilers, and
it's a steam ship.
I understand the concept behind it, but everything relies on this boiler. So if the water production goes down, you can't make water. If the boiler goes down, you don't have electricity either. Like, if you lose a boiler, that ship is fucking useless, dude. And we actually had
That happened.
we had the boiler go down a lot. And some days we would wake up and the electricity would be off. And I'm like, oh, boiler's down, sick. Water production was such a fucking problem that doing laundry was always secured. Not to mention literally half of the laundry shit was broken at all times.
So everyone's just stinky.
It was horrendous. I didn't even get to work out other than my schedule, but I didn't get to work out nearly as what I was planning on because of the laundry situation. Like, it was ridiculous. We had signups for laundry.
Really?
That's awful.
Yeah. Granted, part of it was because of the Marines. Like, the Marines would just fucking flood it all the time. So they had Navy days and Marine days. But they had signups because people would try to go down, especially the Navy guys. Like, they work. They got watch schedules and everything. And they go down for laundry and they're all taken. You can't just sit around there all day. So you'd sign up for specific times on a specific washer or whatever. And then they had a E6 that was on watch all the time to manage, because you can't put uniform items in there and shit, like, because that's a lot of the reasons like shit gets broken. People would put that shit in and it can't handle it, and because they're constantly they're going 24/7 basically. And so people would sign up, and it got so bad to after a while that we'd have to secure water all the time. So if you secure the water and they shut down laundry during your sign up time, sucks to suck. I guess you better hope for like the next week, because the signups happen. They would come out like on Friday for the next week, and they would fill fast. And if you missed your time, or like it was secured during your time, better luck next time.
Being in the Navy sounds like it sucks.
Dude, being in the actual like the regular Navy, I would never pick a ship. Absolutely, I would never pick a ship.
What do you mean?
Because I don't want to deal with that bullshit. I don't want to deal with maintenance, because I swear 70% of your fucking job is maintenance. I don't want to do regular corpsman things on a regular basis. Like I don't enjoy doing regular corpsman things like all the time.
So why'd you
like
become a corpsman?
Oh, originally I wanted to do that, but then I became a psych tech, and also greenside. When I was greenside, I did a lot of corpsman stuff, and that was where I found I'm like, I don't really enjoy doing this all that much. I prefer doing the mental health portion, or like the psychological portion.
I wonder what the mental health was like on the fucking boats.
Bro, it's fucking,
I
it's
imagine
ridiculous.
it's pretty bad.
And I lost the help I was going to have. I was supposed to have one other tech, but he ended up, he had like some personal issues going on. So he wasn't able to go on the deployment. And so it was just me and my doc.
The whole time, huh?
And we had the DRC, so the civilian lady, that definitely probably helped me significantly, as vice versa. But dude, I was seeing
you're still only one guy in charge of, so many. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And what sucks for that too is it's not just for you and your workload, but it's for like the patients. It's like, what do you mean you can't see me for a week? I need to talk about it now. You know what I mean?
Actually, that wasn't a problem. That wasn't a problem, because back in port, to get a mental health appointment, it's weeks is a good thing. It's usually like months. For me, it would be the longest would be like a week and a half, and it's usually for new appointments. Like if it's a brand new appointment, and I had to do those specifically, or I just the paperwork, the note taking process would overwhelm me, and follow-ups were a lot easier. People could get in pretty quickly with me. Like they had no problems with that. Okay. But doing it was insane. Like the work, honestly, if I hadn't have promoted on the deployment, it wouldn't have been that bad for me, because I would have just done my job. But because I promoted to E6, I was basically like second in charge.
That sucks.
So
how long you been in again, by the way?
14 and a half now.
14 and a half years?
Navy's like promoting is almost impossible sometimes, right? Like,
dude,
we just for corpsman. Like, really just for corpsman.
It like, because like look at Nelson. How long did it take for him to pick up 5?
Well, he got lucky too.
Yeah,
because
he'd been waiting for how long?
So he did the program where he was less than 8 years of service, and he re-enlisted under this program we call a STAR program for psych, and they get E5 out of it. Now, I personally think that it's overflooding inexperienced E5s into my field. And then eventually that's going to trickle over to those people are going to eventually, some of them are going to pick up E6, right? And then we're going to have shitty inexperienced leaders, or just inexperienced leaders that aren't necessarily shitty. They just don't know what they're doing. Right.
I guess
my LPL before the deployment, that was him. He wasn't a shitty guy. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just insanely inexperienced. He'd only been in like 6 years. He just didn't know how to be a leader yet. He just didn't know what he was doing.
See, that's something that blows, like that timeline kind of blows my mind. And it's definitely because of the numbers. Like Navy's got a lot more numbers than the Marines do. So it's like, and I feel like people probably stick around a little bit more in the Navy than they do in the Marines, because our turnover rate is awful. People do their 4 and leave. Well, yeah. But anyway, like you saying 6 years or 8 years, whatever. You say 6 or 8?
For which one?
For that guy. For that guy you were just talking about.
Oh, he was under 8 years, yeah.
Okay, just so about 6 years, and like not being a like effective leader kind of blows my mind. at least, not at least anything. It just kind of blows my mind because it's like, in a line unit, it's like, hey, 2 years. All right,
dude,
you're in charge.
Same with it's the same
like,
with the Army.
oh, okay.
Like basically, like you could pick up E4 as soon as you get to your fucking unit. Sometimes,
Yeah.
Well, because
I mean,
in the
you gotta
Navy,
be quick about it. You gotta catch up.
I'm only speaking really for corpsmen, because we're at one place for so long that you don't get the experience. People on ship, it's a little bit different, but even still, when you pick up super fast, the way the Navy has it is you don't like, you kind of just get thrust into these positions with rank. And so if you pick up fast, because you're a certain rank, you're going to get put into a specific position. The Navy doesn't really have billet over rank. Like it's rank over fucking billet almost all the time.
Okay.
Like even when I was in Great Lakes, I was an LPO as an E5. I would still get shut out of the LPO meetings because I wasn't a fucking E6.
That's actually wild.
Yeah, it was fucking
like
frustrating.
If you're holding the role, you kind of need to be there.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean.
Like,
and it's very common in the Navy like that. And like these people, the rest of the Navy would generally pick up pretty fast, honestly. Like at least to E5. A lot of jobs would bottleneck to E6, but they still wouldn't be that bad. But different rates have it bad. And usually you just see some rates are just so overwhelmed and overworked that the quicker people pick up, that takes into account of it. You're only worried about yourself. Like you're just a shitty leader off of circumstance. Like you yourself are overworked. You never really learned how to be a good leader in that process. So now you're just like that shitty overbearing person.
I mean, it makes sense. So I feel like
wild.
it's a lot of like being thrusted into positions too, and
100%.
without like proper mentorship and stuff, which is like that's just a huge problem with the military in general overall, no matter the branch, is just the whole like, all right, do it. Hey, you did bad. You're really bad. I don't know how to be good, man. I don't have anybody above me to teach me how to be good. I'm doing my best here.
So the Army,
because in all honesty, I've been in E6 for like 9 months now, right? Something like that. And my experience up to now has greatly helped me with that. But there's actually still a lot that when I became an E6 that I was like, wow, I didn't think of it like this. I didn't look at it a specific way, or I just straight up didn't know because I didn't have the view. Like I just wasn't allowed to see it, like the background scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So some things that I still learned and I would say still learning, but without the prior experience I already had, I would have significantly struggled far more than what I am. Right.
Yeah.
So someone that does pick up without my level of experience or years in, they're getting all of it together. And they're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but you still have to fucking do it. And you're just ineffective at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the Army, we basically you pick up 4 within a year, maybe even sooner of getting to your unit. My brother, when he was in the National Guard, as soon as he got out of fucking AIT and went to, which is your A school, as soon as he got to his unit, they gave him his 4 immediately, like fresh out of basic. And I'm like, what the fuck? And but he also didn't pick. It was years before he picked up 5. But for in the Army, National Guard's a bit different. They give you rank based off of what's available. In active duty, you go through what's called a basic leadership course, and you usually go through it pretty soon of getting to that unit. And you go to the promotion board, and then you pick up 5 within like 2 years, typically. So, like, I picked up 5 at the end of my first enlistment because they were just like, "Why would we promote you? You're not staying here." And I'm like, "Oh, that's fucking great." So then I got 5 at my next unit, which was in the National Guard. So like I would have gotten 5 on my second year there, but they told me because I wasn't re-enlisting to stay into that unit. They're like, "Why would we give you your E5? What would that benefit us?" And I'm like,
it doesn't matter. I I would like this.
That's what they
come on, man. I still got work to do.
They sent me to the school and everything, and like they had me do the board and everything, and they're like, we're not gonna give you your 5 because you're not re-enlisting, and I'm like, fuck you. And you wonder why I'm not re-enlisting, you fucking cucks. But
that's something I never had to do, was a promotion board.
Really? Is that even a thing for the Marines?
It can be. A lot of the times it's for meritorious. Like that's the most time I ran into it. Like seeing people go to a board was for meritorious promotion, which is before your time to promote, right? So they go a lot off of time in service and your points. So you've got like
Army's
classes and stuff that you have to do. Yeah. And as long as you've got your points from your PT scores and classes and you've got your time in, you get your promotion, right? You're just eligible. Here you go. There it is. Because I'm also assuming a numbers thing between Navy and Army. Marine Corps, it's like when you reach your time, we need you. There's a spot for you to have that promotion. You know what I mean? They're not really like, well, we have X amount of promotions available and so many people over. Who do we pick? It's like, no, it's time. Here you go.
You know what
You're
some
ready.
fucking weirdos in the Army do? So when you get to that point where you have the points and you meet the requirement to get your 5, you get a status as an E4 called Specialist Promotable.
Mm-hmm.
And some fucking dudes will wear that promotable as if they are already an E5.
I can see that.
So, like, you have to address them as Specialist Promotable.
Nah.
Stand at parade rest
Not
for
even if
them.
there's a fire.
Show me on the fucking rank chart where that
I
is.
remember there was a fucking dude, and it's funny, he ended up getting charged with the felony after he got out. But he for rape.
Ew.
Wow.
He ended up being a piece of shit. But
Ew.
he was cool with me up until he got his promotable status. Because then I got E4 also, and he was an E4. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? He's like, stand at parade rest when you fucking talk to me. I'm like, what? He's like,
you are the meme now.
He's like, you address me as Specialist Promotable. I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yes, you will. I'm like, no, we're the same fucking rank. No, we're not. I'm not doing that.
That's not happening.
And like he tried making a stink, and they told him to shut the fuck up because he was like just kind of taking it too far. And then he ended up getting out of the Army. And I don't know what happened with this guy before, because when I got to my unit, they were already in Afghanistan. So I missed the boat on that. He got to the unit right before they were leaving for Afghanistan, and he didn't go. And I'm like, why didn't you go? And he's like, I didn't get to do the pre-deployment shit soon enough. And I'm like, are you sure? Because that seems weird. Like it's not, I get it. There wasn't a very long deployment, but I mean,
That can kind of make sense if he got there like literally right before, and it's like, we're not going to take you. We don't know who you are. We don't know what you're doing. We don't know where you're at training.
I don't see. That's the thing. I don't know how long before their deployment. I know it was months before their deployment, at least.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. That doesn't make sense. Then I was going to say if it was like a couple weeks, understandable.
Yeah, if it was like, hey,
at that point they've done all their numbers and they don't.
Our
wanna
gear is
add.
already shipping out. Like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. But I think he got there like at least 2 months before their deployment. And I'm like, that's weird that they weren't gonna let you do that, because there was a kid that was on Rear D that was like basically trying to get out of the deployment. He said he was going to commit suicide if he went on the deployment.
Oh, I remember this story.
And then they
I've
left.
never understood people that do that.
And then he left. And then he changed his mind. So they were going to send him.
Dude, we had people on the deployment that thought they were going to say that and they was going to get them sent home. I'm like, nah, I'm going to put
Good
you
luck.
in this.
Here's the
I'm gonna
thing,
put
dude.
you in this room.
It sounds
Most
like
of them weren't like serious.
it
though.
sounds like your deployment was fucking pointless. And it was just basically like, I would rather be in combat than fucking this. Like, and then say, yeah, I can understand like wanting to get out of it, because it seems
For a lot
like
of
it was a,
people. Well, most of them, like, they're brand new, especially in the very beginning of the deployment. Like, all the people are like brand new to the Navy. This is their first deployment. It's their first time actually having to do like a lot of stuff. They're away from home, and they're just like, I quit.
I looked at the deployment as an opportunity to get some
At
shit,
the end,
get some shit
a lot
off
of
my
us can look at
chest.
the deployment was shit.
Like I looked at like I wanted to go on deployment to kind of like as I want to do this to get shit off my chest and get it, like, you know, have an outlet for my feelings inside. Like that.
Yeah.
That's how I looked at it, and I never got to do it. So I'm like, you know, all the people are like, I don't want to go, I don't want to die. It's like, oh God, I want to kill people so bad. Like that's where I was at, but I didn't get to go.
I did have people towards the end of the deployment that were upset that like they weren't doing anything or they didn't see like the bigger picture or whatever. We did have a purpose, but to
And
like the lower
did ya?
guy on the ship or like the person doing like their regular maintenance where their job isn't necessarily directly correlated or they don't understand how it's correlated in the overall like connection of things. Like I got it. I understood. But most of those people weren't suicidal. All the quote unquote suicidal people. I can never say that someone was lying to me, but I have a feeling in my personal mind, a lot of them were bullshitting. It was towards the beginning, and like a lot of them feel like that's how they're going to get off the ship, and it's not.
I remember right before, like, we were trying to figure out where we were gonna go, and like the big rumor was Afghanistan for my.
Isn't it
first
always
one. So,
fun? Like
okay, cool.
when you hear rumors of a deployment, there's the rumor mill goes around of where you're going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's always
they
like
had a
a
lot of
different places.
We're going to North
and then
Korea. We're going
like
to
the most-
Syria. We're going to Iraq.
Yeah. It's always the most uninteresting place that you actually go, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Kosovo. Why?
But like obviously the months before that, it's like, you know, I heard that we're going to Afghanistan and stuff, and this is why, and and they have like evidence and everything, and you're like, oh man, we're going. But my first roommate was a corpsman, right, and he had been in for a while at this point, and he had been with the unit for a while, and he comes in, and he goes, it's Afghanistan, and I was like, oh okay, cool, and he goes, we're gonna fucking die, man, and I was like, me, little boot fresh dude, I'm like, why? He goes, this unit sucks, bro. I'm like, what? What do you mean? And he goes, man, we're garbage, man. I was like, I want to, hold on. I was like, no, I want to go, but not with these people. Obviously,
That's how a lot of people felt about our shit.
You know, but when I got to my unit, my unit was the most deployed to Afghanistan. So it was like, if I was going to deploy to Afghanistan, I wanted it to be this unit when I was going in.
Yeah.
Because like when I joined, I'm like, I want to be part of that unit. And I ended up being part of that unit. And we didn't fucking go anywhere. So it sucked. So like I was just like, oh dude, I'm like, I'm going. Fuck yeah. I thought as soon as I got my orders, I'm like, I got exactly what I fucking wanted. Like I would rather go to Afghanistan with these guys because these guys are always there. They know this fucking place like it's their home. And
You know,
it didn't happen. And then I get there and then our command changed and it was all Eastern Europe and it's like the next rumor was World War III. I'm like, I don't want to do that with you fucks. you guys
Rumors
suck.
always World War III.
It's always
That's
World War
always
III.
thrown into the deployment rumor.
But
We're
when
going to Russia.
But
What?
when the command changed, it was no longer the deployed guys. I mean, it was deployed people, but it wasn't the same ones. It was just the actions of all the training leading into what could be a deployment had me going like, we're gonna fucking die. Like these dudes, they and these dudes are willing to just throw us into the fucking gauntlet for their own gain. That's how it turned into. And that's why I was like, you know what? I don't want to deploy with this unit anymore because the fucking OGs that, you know, everybody loved and trusted are gone.
Yeah.
You know,
I got
speaking
these
of
dudes.
rumors, we had a lot of rumors about different ports that we were going to that never fucking happened. And it started off with the first port. The CO literally came over the 1MC. It was supposed to be Croatia. And he's like, we have the day before. The day, I think I told you guys this through the messaging.
There was one through.
He said-
you said Sweden was one of them.
Sweden was going to be another one, yeah.
And you
Oh, so
diverted.
Croatia was towards the end. Yeah. That got canceled. But-
all the good ones did.
That was like 3 days before we were supposed to be there. Sweden was supposed to be the very first one, and we were all fucking excited because we were doing ball tops up north, and it was pretty cool. And we were supposed to go to Sweden the day before. The CO comes over and he's like, there's a 95% chance that we're going to Sweden. Like, I wouldn't worry too much. Literally the next day, Sweden was canceled.
Did you have an ice cream social leading into that too?
I think we did prior to that, but it wasn't necessarily related.
So
Because I think we had another one where it was mainly because like we were clearing shit out of the freezer to make room for more food. But there was only those two. But I didn't correlate those two.
We gotta make room for more.
No. The ice cream
Everybody
social was
we're
during
gonna die.
the workups, not the actual quote unquote deployment. But there was, let's see, we're supposed to go to Germany for Oktoberfest, or it wasn't Oktoberfest, it was something similar. And that got canceled because the person planning it didn't realize how big of a ship we are, and we can only go to certain piers. That got canceled. We're supposed to go to Croatia. That got canceled. So I have a thing where every time something's gonna happen or has a possibility of happening,
it's not happening.
I just say 95% chance. I just say it's a 95% chance, right? Every single time. Because we went to 2.5 fucking ports the whole goddamn time. We went to Suda Bay, which is Crete, Greece.
How was Greece? Did you like it?
I'm Suda Bay itself. I've been to Suda Bay before this deployment so many fucking times. Like, I'm over Suda Bay. I love Suda Bay, but as far as like a port that I want to go to, what else we got, right?
Yeah.
If I were stationed there, etc., like it's just.
Where is that? Is that by Athens?
No, it's an island.
Oh, okay.
Crete's an island.
Oh,
and then
okay, yeah.
And then we went to Cyprus. Cyprus was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun in Cyprus. We went there twice.
Isn't Cyprus in Turkey?
No, Cyprus is its own country.
Oh yeah, it's okay. I'm retarded.
There are a lot of Turkish there.
You did go to Turkey though.
Yeah, we went to Turkey. Turkey was nice for the first day. So people that got to get off the ship for the first day, got to see a little bit of Turkey or experience a little bit. But that's where that incident happened. That
I fucking told you. Did I not tell you? As soon as you told me you were porting in Turkey, I'm like, oh, dude. No, I said, you better watch out, because the last time that the fucking Navy ported in Turkey, the Turkish like swarmed this one sailor, put a bag on his head and shit, and you didn't respond to that. And then the next day you were like, well, our fucking liberty's been revoked. We got to be back because of the incident. And I watched it. I'm like, it happened exactly like I said it would. It happened.
Dude, that incident, that whole debacle it goes so much deeper than what was on the news. So just outside of that, so every time we port, I think it's the MWR people, they'll rent buses and everything so people can get from the ship and the pier to out in town and stuff, and then bus you back, right? And that was the thing. They recalled everybody. Everyone got a text, whatever. They're like, get back to the ship immediately. If you're in your hotel, stay until the morning, get an early breakfast, get to the bus stop, get back. Nobody found this out. People found out as it was happening. The day prior to that, the bus drivers went on strike. And so people were on the bus going like out in town, and the bus driver just walked off the bus. So they're just on the bus in the middle of the fucking street, like,
what's happening?
Like, what? Our bus driver just fucking left. And then the next morning, me and my Liberty partner, we're at one of the bus stops, and we're mildly freaked out because we know that the incident happened and there was riots outside of the pier and everything. And we were like, we can't be like out here by ourselves, right? We're going to be the next incident. And we're waiting for the bus. And we're like, are we at the right fucking place? Are we at the right stop? Because we had taken a taxi, and we were initially told no taxis. You have to take the bus back because we don't know, the taxi could take you off somewhere else, right? Because of what's going on. And we're like, fuck, we got to wait for the bus. We waited 2 hours for the fucking bus. Nothing. And eventually we saw like two other Navy guys, and we're like, we could tell. They're like, you waiting for the bus too? Yeah. Oh, is this the right spot? We were thinking the same thing. We ended up saying, fuck it. We got a taxi and went back. And we were like, we're just have to explain.
You're lucky you didn't end up on fucking Al Jazeera or some shit.
Oh, right. But we're gonna have to explain that we took a taxi. There was just no option. Well, we found out when we got there, the buses hadn't even left. They were all just lined up, and the bus drivers were just like congregating because they were still striking. They were like, we're not driving these fucking people. Nobody got word of that. Zero people. So
why didn't nobody communicate that to you?
Bro, the communication was ass. A lot of people thought that the buses were going because they were supposed to. And like the bus drivers were there. They were just like, nah, or they were given like these bullshit reasons why they couldn't go or they weren't ready yet. I don't know. It was insane. So we got back to the ship. And then I get back to the ship. I'm like, why is the power off? The boilers were down.
Oh, great.
Sick. So the water in Turkey, the pier water is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And
it's Turkey.
So we go to start up the boilers, which is our engine as well. And we like sucked some massive, disgusting fish and shit into there, and it fucked up the boiler. Like so much to where if the incident and shit that was going on in Turkey would have happened, we definitely would not have left Turkey. We ended up having to get like special approval. At least this is what was told to me. We had to get special approval to be able to leave port on the issues that we were having, to be able to crawl our ass to Suda Bay to get these repairs done. And that's why I was in Suda Bay for like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Dude, that incident in fucking Turkey, I did tell you before you got there that shit happens there. Did I not?
Yeah.
And it's funny because it happened exactly the way it did back in like 2014 when I was overseas when this happened. Because ISIS was really, really growing when that happened the first time. Like ISIS was becoming a thing. They were steamrolling through Iraq, and then they were in Italy. Like we knew that they were in Italy because they fucking made their presence known within Italy. They were like writing shit on the roads where we used to do runs, where we were running shit for PT. They would like put signs and stuff that they were there. And so like we weren't allowed to do PT off base anymore because of ISIS in Italy. And then we see this shit happen in Turkey, which we're like, okay, Turkey's a fucking shithole. We've done rotations to Turkey. I didn't go, but like we've had guys go to Turkey because there's a fucking there's an air defense system there. Like there's a whole base there for us. And there's been times where like that base has gotten probed with like fucking gunfire or grenades, and it's not far from that port, by the way. I'm pretty sure that fucking ADA system is not that far from that port.
I don't even remember which port we were in. I just remember we were in Turkey.
So, it was Damascus, I think, right?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
So there was a time where like someone was chucking grenades over the fucking wire at that ADA system during that same.
Luckily, we didn't have that.
Well, it was at the same time when ISIS was growing. So like, and then the sailor, and it was pretty sad because the sailor was just like, he thought everyone was just kind of like, hey, having a party, and he was like, yeah, and then they fucking threw a bag over his head, and he was like, and he thought, and like that was like when ISIS was growing, we thought that was, they were gonna take this dude and chop his fucking head off on the internet, like that was what we all thought was happening, and when we figured out it was just that was just their way of being dicks, thankfully. I knew when you said you were going to Turkey, I'm like, oh, that's not going to be good. That's going to be real bad. And it was.
We didn't even leave for like 2 extra days.
Oh,
because we were trying to fix whatever it was, and we didn't until we realized we're like, this can't be fixed, and they were like, we need to leave. We need to leave this area.
It's
so people were getting food on the pier. People found this out afterwards, of course, after they'd already paid, but they were upcharging like 500%. People would get a sandwich and realize that they paid like $80
for a sandwich.
Oh yeah,
them dirty fucking Turks, dude. I hate them. Like I don't like Turks. Even in Germany, like the Turks in Germany, they fucking like stab soldiers all the time. They're a NATO nation. They are NATO. We work with them. We train them.
I'm not equating it to all of Turkey because there were also people that were out as like we were coming back from the incident. This didn't happen to me, but one of our officers was saying that like they were at the mall when they had heard about it and like that the news was going around, and people had approached them because they could tell like, they were like American, and they had like apologized. They were like, this isn't representation.
It's the younger generation of Turks.
Well, I mean, it was like the youth. Youth is in their name or whatever.
Yeah, it's the younger generation of Turks. They're radicalized. And it's like because people don't realize It was funny because after that happened, people were taking to Twitter and like, what the fuck are we doing in Turkey? Like, we need to stop going to other countries and invading. And it's like,
What? We were there for a Liberty port.
and I'm like,
Or
you do know that
it was a
Turkey.
working port, and we were on off-duty status.
But
That's
I was,
what we were always told
dude,
to say.
and then I was telling people, like, you do realize that Turkey is a NATO nation, right? Like, they're an ally. They're one of our allies. We do operations with them all the time. We have
we just gotten done doing a training exercise with them before
Right.
boarding.
and it's just like, why are we going to other countries? I'm like, they're a NATO country. It'd be like no different than us going to fucking Europe.
We go to different countries literally every day almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the Navy.
But because it's Turkey, they think because it's a Middle Eastern country, they don't realize that that's a Middle Eastern country that's a NATO nation.
Right.
And it's no different than Germany for us when it comes to on the grand scheme of what NATO is. So basically, it's like we've been doing shit with Turkey for decades. They're part of NATO. They're an ally. They're an allied nation. It'd be like, you're going to get pissed off at us for working with the Brits? No. It's the same shit. Yeah. It's just they're just different people.
We had a British chaplain on our ship on the way back, and I don't know why.
That's weird.
I don't know what his purpose was to be there. I don't know if he was just like catching a ride for some training or something.
To be.
I have no idea, but we had a British. He came over the 1MC one day to say the evening prayer, and I'm like, why do we have a British guy? What the fuck?
I am so jealous. Jealous. Wow.
I'm so jealous
of
Sean Connery.
I'm so jealous of their Navy. We were
because they can have beards
there. Yeah, and we were like talking to him and everything. It was what was it? Obviously they call it Armistice Day. We call it Veterans Day. But we were sitting there and we were partying with them, having some drinks and everything like that. And they're like, "Do you want to come back and party on our ship?" And we're like, "No. Why would I want to go party on a ship?" They're like, "No, we have a bar."
Yeah, they do.
I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we have bars on our ships.
Bro,
to get, like, beers.
Europeans do
Are
it.
you fucking kidding? We obviously couldn't go, but I was like, I would love to, but I can't.
Have you seen?
I get caught on your ship, I'm in trouble.
Have you seen their MREs?
So we're allowed. We had our PMT that went over there. He had to like check their water or whatever because they didn't have the right person to do it. And so he was there for a couple of days, and he told us, he was like, yeah, they have a bar. It's only 2 beers per day, like how like when we have the Steel Beaches or whatever, they give us 2 per day. So they're only allowed to have 2 per day, but they have a fucking bar on the ship. Like, that's wild.
Hey, but you know, that just goes to show you, dude. Like, we even learned this in the Army. Other nations treat their military better than ours. Like they,
in a sense,
in some ways, but they give them more.
Treat them like men more.
They treat them more like fucking adults. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, they treat them as responsible adults. Like I can't remember if it's Italy or whoever, but their MREs have fucking alcohol in it.
That's hilarious.
And
awesome.
and like when we were doing the joint training, like I don't remember who it was. It was either Italy or one of the Scandinavian countries, but they had fucking wine in their MRE. Their MRE was straight up like a box with a fucking charcuterie meal inside of it.
I mean, ours used to have tobacco in them.
Well, yeah, but people started getting all about it. Now our fucking MREs are the shit we have now. But like other countries, their MREs are fucking fantastic. Like I tried one and I said, "Do you want to trade?" They're like, "No, we don't want your shit. Your shit sucks." You're right.
When I was doing a training thing with the Italians at the end of like the couple day field op we were doing, it was like a force on force type deal. So, it was good fun. At the end of it, they go, "All right, the Italians have prepared a like lunch/dinner for us. Go to this tent." And we're like, "Okay," we go in and they've got like champagne, like cases of champagne and like good food waiting on us. And we're like, "What?" And they come up and like, "Do you want a bottle?" And I'm like,
"Yeah,
fuck yeah, I do." And obviously all of our like staffing up, we're just like, "Hey, don't go crazy with this." And I was like, "Oh yeah, definitely not going to go nuts with champagne in the field." I drank a whole bottle to myself. I was like, "Fuck you, I'm drinking this shit."
It was, it's weird because when you train with other countries, you realize it's just like, oh, these guys have it way different than us. Now, and it's funny because I used to talk to my old platoon leader about this because he was a lieutenant, so of course he knows things, right? So I was like, dude, why do they treat them so well? It's like, yeah, but if you look at them, they're so bad at what they do. And I'm like, are you fucking high?
Well, some of them
You gonna tell the fucking Royal Irish that they're bad at what they do?
there's difference. He's talking about on the overall sense. They do have like their special forces guys and like the ones that are really, really good at what they do. But I think in like the larger sense, the general military people are not as well trained.
See, that's the thing. Like all of my experience has never been with, like when we did joint training with other countries, it's never been with just the normal military. It's always been with their special operations guys, because we were airborne. We're paratroopers. All of our airborne operations that we do is not with the conventional military of those nations.
Yeah, so your view is a little bit skewed,
because like like in the airborne, for the Army, it's like, okay, cool, you're just a paratrooper. For other countries, the only people that do that are their special operations guys.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Which
we have jobs that like just average people have,
which is weird.
And the other countries are like, no, that's top of the line shit right
and
there.
I even asked, like, I asked my who was it? I asked my fire support officer. I was like, hey, sir, why is it that we always train with these guys? And he's like, because technically, and for anybody that's listening to this that is gonna fucking shit on what I'm about to say, I'm not claiming this. I'm just saying technically, airborne units are part of SOCOM, special operations.
Get them.
So,
Comments.
so like so apparently paratrooper, like airborne units are at the bottom tier for SOCOM. But technically, paratroopers are SOCOM, and I didn't know that until I asked my physio, especially when you're overseas. Like, you don't work with conventional military overseas. So I asked him, I was like, hey, so like, what the fuck? Why are we always training with these guys? And he's like, we're technically part of SOCOM. And I'm like, bullshit. And it's true. I mean, like, we're not fucking operators, so I'm not saying that. We're not fucking SEALs. We're not Green Berets. We're not Rangers. I mean, a lot of the guys in our unit were Rangers, but we're not Rangers. But paratroopers overseas especially train with those guys because technically that's what we are, I guess. So
that's interesting.
Because when we do joint airborne operations, the only people in those countries that are airborne qualified are special operators. You know? So like when we're doing airfield seizures and joint airborne operations and stuff, that, hey, we're going to be jumping into this. We're doing a training operation with these guys. We're going to do this jump. Like, yeah, that's because those guys are special operations, and that's why we train with them. Jumping is a specialized thing. I don't see it like that in the Army, but that's just
cool.
me.
Cool little factoid.
Yeah, and like I said, for those of you who are listening, do not come after me for this. I'm just going off of what my officer said, and granted, he's an officer. Take it with a grain of salt. But
come after him in the comments.
But it does explain why. Oh, when I was overseas, that we only train with those fucking units, and yeah, that's why. But what was I getting with this? Oh, so other countries treat their soldiers way differently. They treat them much better.
Mm-hmm.
Ours treat us like we're a bunch of 10-year-olds that don't know how to fucking wipe our own ass.
In a lot of ways, I would say so.
So what else? What else happened on this fucking deployment? You said you had a lot to talk about.
I was just looking. Oh yeah, I still got a list of things. There was I never got this technically confirmed. I never met the person that it was about or the nickname was for, but multiple people have corroborated this and that it was a thing. There was a female who earned the nickname Newport.
Oh no.
Because she was giving blowjobs for cigarettes.
Yes, I knew it. There's always one. There's always one.
And I'm like, that's not real. Like, no, that's definitely a thing.
It's an unconfirmed real thing. Listen, a rumor like that doesn't just spread for no reason.
Yeah.
And
she was a Marine, I take it, right?
Actually, she wasn't.
No?
She was one of the sailors, yeah.
Oh. Was she getting...
Because I initially asked that too, and I was like, was it a Marine? And they're like, no, it's one of the sailors. I'm like, get the fuck out.
spending some time on ships, the sailors are always the dirtier ones.
Here's the
It's
thing.
a barter system.
Marines
man.
aren't
It
great.
really is.
But sailors are the dirtier
But
ones.
you know what?
That's true. Because the sailors understand the barter system and like how much people want something. Like on ship, it's literally a barter. It's trade. It's this for that, right?
And
Like what do you got?
And that
And
system
even
is
actions. Like
that's
I'm going to give this training for you. What do you got for me?
a
Right?
blowjob, I guess.
I'm taking my time out. Like we would literally tell our people if people came up to give like the warfare qual classes to sign off stuff. We're like they should not be leaving here empty handed. Like they should be leaving with like a little goodie bag of stuff that we've all contributed, like snacks and shit like that, because they're taking time out of their day, and then they're gonna go back and be like, "Yo, medical fucking hooked us up."
Mhm.
Right? It's a different world on ship. It is barter system like a motherfucker.
That's deep rooted too. I think that dates back to like
Oh,
the
yeah.
fucking when ships existed in the first time.
Absolutely.
Like the barter, the
Abso-fucking-lutely.
barter system has been around forever, and it's even crazier when there's females involved because we all know any of us that's been in the field or been deployed, women start to become more attractive when you're stuck out in the fucking field with them.
Yeah, deployment goggles.
Deployment goggles, and like
A deployment 10 is usually like a civilian,
a civilian
5 or 6.
4 or 5, yeah. So it's like it's funny because, and it's weird to see. I've experienced it myself. I didn't act on it, but I've seen it happen. Like I know it because I've seen this happen to myself. Where there's a girl in our unit that is like, I would never. So when you're out there for a month or two, you're like, I 100%
would.
will. It's just like it's just your perspective fucking changes. It's like they start to the way they look changes, and it's weird.
Does.
It's weird because like you said, a deployment 10 is often that's why that like when people say, she's about a deployment 9, that's what that means. Like she's not attractive outside of that.
When we first started getting females in the infantry, I saw it slowly happen. They first hit, and everybody was like,
Ugh.
"No." And then after 6 months, we'd go on another field op for a few weeks, and little whispers, people being like, "Would you? I would. I think I would." You know, and it's just like it just slowly deteriorated into like.
Do you? It is funny because what you were experiencing, what we all experienced going through this, that is deep rooted genetic coding, instinct, like survival. Basically, because you're out there, and the only thing that comes to mind is just that you're in survival mode, and the only thing you can think of is like replenishing the population.
It's options. If that's all that you have available to you, your mind will
mind will warp your option to suit your what you want, right? So like it's interesting because it's such a deep rooted evolutionary trait in people, in human beings. That like the things that we would not want in somebody become something that we will want. We accept because of
there's
that
so many places on ship to fuck too.
Oh, I'm sure, dude. You know it happened. You know it happened.
Oh, I guarantee it happens. I know some places like we call them fan. They call them fan rooms for a reason, right? Because fan rooms
are loud.
Just have these big ass. Well, that too. They're just these big ass spaces with fans or tubing of fans or connected to another fan room, right? So you got to go in this fan room to get to that fan room. And no one ever fucking goes in there. Like, especially you may be the person that does the maintenance on that. Ain't nobody else but you going in there regardless. I did know a few people that would use like their regular spaces for it, but that's just because they were the only ones that had access to that area. And those are some ballsy people. Pizza?
Ballsy, that's some ballsy pizza there. Yeah, dude. I can't. Yeah,
I did try the pizza MRE.
Ew.
One of my boys.
No, I've had that too. It's not bad.
One of my Greenside friends, one of the Greenside corpsmen, I told him, I'm like, yo, if you ever get an opportunity to grab a pizza MRE, hook me up, because I've never had one. Like, I was cool with all the Greenside guys because they all knew that I came from fucking division, and so they were all cool with me. And I would treat some of their Marines and shit. And he ended up coming to me one day. He's like, I got you one. I'm like, fuck yeah. And I had it. And I'm, of course, obviously MRE, like it's not going to be the best,
but it's not bad either.
But It tastes like a
Lunchables pizza.
Lunchable. Yeah, exactly. It was like a Lunchables pizza. That's exactly the way I described it to him.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's why I'm like, it's surprisingly not bad because it's straight up a Lunchables pizza.
And honestly, it was better than ship food.
Not surprising there at all. Honestly.
I can't stand ship food. Dude, the amount of times that I ate ship food on that fucking thing was really not that much. Probably less than like 30 or 40 times. Because I would Amazon enough food, like mostly ramen, just to like not go down to the galley for one. And also, it was the quality of food was a secondary portion. It was the fucking lines on an amphibious ship because of the Marines is insane.
Yeah,
because the Marines get in line immediately. They have nothing else. Majority of them have nothing to do all day. It's not their fault, right? They just have all the time in the world.
I cannot imagine being one of those Marines where you have no task throughout the day. You
just
were
video games and fucking jerking off and sleeping.
You're a fucking infantryman and you're just stuck on this fucking boat and there's no thing for you to do except for whatever fucking monotonous task they gave you for the day. And when that's done, it's like, all right, what do I do now?
Nothing. You either play games, you jerk off, you take a nap.
That will only get you so far for so long.
For a good amount of people. I mean, I enjoyed it when I was on my last deployment. Or the last shipboard deployment when I was with my Marines. Like I would see patients in the morning, and like every so often I would get a patient in the afternoon or like at night. But like I was still super busy, but only for like 3-4 hours in the morning, right? The rest of the day, I was in my rack or chilling with my Marines, like just doing fucking nothing. Great time. I loved it. Phenomenal.
So what else happened besides Newport?
Let's see.
Do you know who the Newport person was?
No, I never met them. I never.
So you just knew that there was someone they called Newport that's blowing dudes for fucking cigarettes.
Yeah. So I had never gotten like full confirmation. I didn't know who they were talking about. I just knew it was a sailor. So like we were super into Helldivers before we left, right?
Oh yeah.
Remember when the bug update first came out and the CEO put on Twitter, like people were showing pictures there and videos and stuff, and the CEO put on Twitter, they're like, this is propaganda, this isn't real,
Flying bugs.
There's no bugs. Yeah. Hmm. And people were like responding with videos. They're like, I see the bugs. You're lying to us. That's what this whole fucking deployment felt like. Every time the CEO would come over.
Gaslighting from your command.
100%. They will come over and be like, everything's good. There's nothing to worry about. I'm like,
no, it's not.
I feel like I'm living in fucking Helldivers right now.
What's up, guys? Regiment in this podcast is brought to you by G Fuel, the ultimate energy drink for gamers. G Fuel uses a special blend of vitamins, antioxidants, and other natural caffeine resources to keep you from having those jitters or even that crash that you normally would have from other energy drink brands. So whether you're having a long gaming session or you're just having a long day and need a pick-me-up, G Fuel definitely has you covered. G Fuel also has a wide array of flavors to choose from. But if you don't know what flavor you want to try, they also sell variety packs on their website, and they even come with a cool shaker. So head on over to gfuel.com and use promo code Regiment at checkout to get up to 30% off. That is Regiment, promo code Regiment down here at checkout to get up to 30% off.
Especially when the water incident with the JP5 happened, I was like, I'm literally living Helldivers every fucking day. The CEO would come over and he'd say something is great. Oh, we're going to this port, 95% chance. Nope, didn't happen. Or he's like, everything is good and fine. I'm like, that's not the news. I lived in engineering with the engineers. And I would hear things from them all the time about like multitudes of shit breaking and going down like all the time. And we just never announced it. Like on the last ship I was on, if there was like some type of casualty, we call them casualties, we would announce it. It would be like engineering casualty or combat systems casualty, et cetera, et cetera. The only time we ever heard an engineering casualty is that there was a major fire, like in a separate space usually.
A major fire is if this happens a lot?
Oh, there was fires almost every day. There was fires. There was constant flooding. There was constant flooding.
ships catch fire as far as I know, most of them they'll catch fire every day.
Yeah, there's almost always constant flooding and like minor fires on a regular basis. But this was like more than usual, right? There was a lot of flooding all the time that was constantly being addressed, and like fires all the fucking time, and we just wouldn't announce it, right? And I'm like, I know these things are happening. I know that they're happening. They would come over and be like, every ship goes through maintenance and breaks down, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, that we're downplaying the fuck out of this right now. We are busted as fuck. Obviously, we can't tell people that. Like, I understood news wise and everything. Like, we can't tell that, and like why I never really said anything while we were on deployment. But like, we were busted as fuck, man.
Dude, just off of the few things that you've told me, it sounded like you were basically driving around in a rust bucket. Like
Yeah,
like
it's the oldest fucking amphibious ship.
One wrong fart away from falling apart in the ocean. Like that's literally what I thought of.
Pretty
just
much.
off the few things that you've told me, I'm like, I imagine it covered in rust. It's like some shit you see in the post-apocalyptic era where it's like, this is the only boat we have. It's the only thing that's gonna get us there. They're basically like fucking chucking buckets of water out to keep it afloat. Like that's what I, you know.
I mean, we were on the way back. We were dead in the water for like a day.
Really?
Both boilers went down. And when we lose boilers, we lose everything. We lose power. We lose steering. We can't produce water. Like the boilers go down, like we lost fucking everything.
So you were stuck in the middle of the ocean for a few days.
No, it was like maybe half a day. They got things back up and running, and I'm like, bruh, we're gonna need to get our ass tugged back to fucking Norfolk.
That's what it feels like when you're constantly hearing that stuff come over the intercom. I just imagine a team of sailors down there with duct tape and just like, get it working. Fuck.
Kinda, yeah.
It's like
Get the water off.
It's like Sea
I
of
feel
Thieves.
bad for
You're
the
like
females
fucking
on this shit, though.
it's like Sea of Thieves. You're nailing planks in the holes and shit.
Yeah. That's what it feels
Kinda,
like
yeah.
when you're listening to it and you're like,
There's a
"You just
term
don't
for it.
understand what's going on."
I can't remember what it's called. It's I think it's J something patch. Jubilee patch. That's what it is.
Jubilee patch. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
it's a Jubilee patch to stop the flooding or like a major leak.
God
Yep,
damn,
that's a real thing.
dude. So aside from
Did-
that, what else
So, like,
happened?
I feel bad for the females on this ship though, because this ship was commissioned in like '89, so it was made before women were on ships, right? So women were not even a thought as a commodity when the ship was made.
So like
everything was-
showers and shit
yeah, birthing, everything was made
for dudes.
for dudes. And then
we
when
all got the
women were
same
allowed
dick.
on
Let's
ship-
just wash together. And then the females are like, so what do we do?
Yeah. So, I mean, the ship has been refurbished a few times, so it's not 100% the same. But you can tell, like, it was
Structurally, it's made
without-
for all dudes.
It's you can tell that everything is made without women in mind. It was all made with just for dudes, because everything for females is super inconvenient. It just like the way the bathroom are designed, like some way that some of the showers and everything, and even the berthings itself without some of the refurbishing.
It's funny.
You can just tell.
It's funny to say women are an inconvenience to the military.
I mean, after they were allowed on ships, a lot of people on that ship were probably thinking the same thing. Honestly, the women were probably thinking it more like, this is a major inconvenience,
Mhm.
because it just, like, I felt bad for them, because you can tell all throughout the ship. You're like, this ship wasn't made with any thought of women in mind whatsoever. And at the time, it makes sense. It was made in fucking '89.
So like what give me examples besides the showers and the birthing, like what
I mean, that's a
else?
major part of it, honestly. Those are like the two main things that anyone would really think about as far as accommodations for women.
Here's what I'm wondering though. How are showers an inconvenience for women? A shower is a shower.
They were separate
Obviously, no.
from like their birthings a lot of time.
Oh,
Like a
okay.
shower room, right?
So they gotta
Yeah.
they gotta walk through the halls and stuff.
Hmm.
Going to get,
Especially
okay,
a lot of the
that's understandable.
officers were like that, because the officer male, like back in the day, you think dudes walking throughout the P-way, if you're in your towel or naked, like you're just going back, whatever.
No
fucking
one
deal.
cared But now it's
Yeah,
different.
but now
'cause-
the women have to do that too. And some
And
of our
you-
officers would tell us, some of our officer females would tell us that some of them, the way that where their room was and the head by them, they'd have to pass by. I think one of the lounge rooms for the officers, and there's always a group of dudes in there. Just wait at like certain times, just because they know women will fucking walk by.
So they're just there to watch.
so weird.
Essentially, yeah,
Wow.
It's so weird.
it
They're
is.
like, let me get a whiff. Like
That's literally what they're doing.
I'm
it's so
surprised.
gross.
I'm surprised that like in cases like this, like women don't just get pregnant on boat.
I mean, people
on
get
deployment.
pregnant on ships all the time,
I'm sure they do.
and they're usually fucking married.
Imagine getting pregnant in the beginning of the deployment. And you got it's a 9-month deployment.
I feel like
You get
Like,
sent off after a while,
yeah.
after a certain time.
Oh, you don't want to
on
give
the way
birth
back,
on deployment? Come on.
right? Speaking of on the way back, I think we were 2 weeks away from being back home. We were in Rota, Spain. It was our last port, mainly for like fuel and shit like that to get us back. I always wondered, I'm like, why do we need fuel? Like the ship doesn't use fuel. Mostly for the planes, I guess, and the helicopters
Mhm.
and the LCACs. But so the brow, which is what connects the ship to like a massive staircase. Sometimes there's just like a little, so say you got the ship, you got like a little ramp, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you got the ship, you got the brow, and then you got the stairs.
Mhm.
You understand this, but this is mostly for brow. So you got this part is the brow, these are the stairs, and like this is the ship, right?
Mhm.
So the last week, there are these people coming up the stairs. There's 2 people coming up the stairs. This portion on this side connected to the stairs fell.
Oh no.
It was like they almost like they got like 3-4 steps onto it, and that bitch just fell off with them on it. And it's a good 20 feet high.
Ooh.
And they like they were far enough back to where like you couldn't grab onto the rail or one of the bars or anything. They just plummeted and smacked the concrete 20 feet, right? One person, like they're fucked for almost ever. Like they're probably gonna get med boarded 100% and everything. Like they're fucked. But we had a medical emergency, obviously. We couldn't even get down to the people because the brow was down.
So what the fuck
Eventually,
do you do?
they were like, they hung on because the brow was connected to the ground. It was just like a really steep fucking way down, right? So to prevent injury, they're like, we can't go down that. After a while, they're like, we need to get down to our people. So they ended up like shimmying their way down. One person, I think the person that got fucked up the most, they tried to land. And anyone that's ever done parkour, or because you're a parajumper, you never try to land.
No, you just let your body hit the
tuck
ground.
And you either just let your body hit the ground or you fucking tuck and roll.
They broke both their legs.
They broke their ankles because it wasn't high enough to break their legs.
Oh, okay.
But they shattered their ankles. I think they fucked up their knees a little bit too.
Yeah.
They shattered their coccyx, the part of their spine.
Oh.
Like they were fucked up. And the other dude, he just plummeted all the way. He just took the full force.
Oh
and
no.
Shattered his fucking spine.
Oh.
I think he had like a head injury too, and maybe a wrist. Like he lightly tried to catch himself, but not entirely. But he just hit hard. She tried to like land, and absolutely fucked herself up. Because all that energy and kinetic force, it has to go somewhere. That's why I tell you to not do that shit. Because that energy is gonna go to a stopping point that it wants to keep going. So that's why I tell you tuck and roll. Like they got.
You can honestly 20 feet into the concrete, you can only tuck and roll so much.
Yeah, but I mean, to minimize injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
or to just not catch herself. She legitimately tried to land, and she's fucked up. And
dude, that's awful.
I was like,
Man,
can
can you imagine?
fucking weeks.
Can you imagine like you went that whole deployment, like you're 2 weeks out from going home, and you get fucking real fucked up?
Oh yeah,
That's often when it happens too. It's like right at the end of deployment.
everyone's complacent and
Everyone's
too. Like I was fearful of that too, of people, because we were still having training events on the way back. I'm like, what are we doing?
It's to
But
keep
people were
it's to
getting
keep people
complacent.
from being complacent. Is basically it's like saying because this is the end of deployments when the shit happens the most.
100%.
Right before you go home is when things go bad. You know. So like
this wasn't even anybody's fault.
yeah, that's
well,
true. This was a
sort of.
this was a mechanical failure. That,
I think it was. I never got the full confirmation of it, but I think what they were suspecting was the complacency had already happened. Someone put the brow together. They didn't secure it like how they're supposed to. And so with the amount of people going on it after so long, like bouncing around and stuff like that, that things became loose, and that's when it fell. They had stepped on it and it gone. So like it wasn't their fault. They were just the victims.
damn.
That sucks.
What else?
Like
what the fuck else happened besides that? That was sad. Give me a funny one, fucker.
So all the bullshit that we had in the medical office in the admin, we had a whole fucking meme wall of shit that would happen. Like I wish I got a fucking picture of it before some asshole took it down.
A meme wall.
We had a meme wall where like other things like the 95% chance thing, when people were just puking all the time, we had one where there was just meanwhile in medical, and it was a horse just fucking projectile vomiting, because that's all medical was for like 2 weeks, just people fucking puking into bags and shit and all over ship. It was ridiculous. So we had a meme wall of fucking everything, and one of my favorite was, remember back when I told you guys about the mass casualty?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if I told you about the dude that slept through it.
You did tell me about this.
Okay. So he was up there. Three of our guys went to DRB, which is Disciplinary Review Board. It's like 2 steps below going to captain's mast. And a lot of times you don't necessarily go to mast. It's more like you're getting bitched at, and it can just end there. They were on the urinalysis list for the day, right? And
did they piss hot?
They ended up, no, they didn't go.
Oh.
But medical was always busy, right? They were doing a bunch of shit. And there's only one person that should have been held responsible, because he's the LPO. He was in a leadership position. So I'm like, if he gets in trouble, there's not much he can do. But even still, like up the chiefs, everyone failed these guys. No one was like, yo, you got to go piss. It's getting to the time where you can't go. In reality, as a UPC person, they can piss any time of that day, technically. But like they haven't had MAs that came down and tried to get them earlier to try to like not let them get fucked up. But because they were so busy doing everything else, and no one had told them,
so they got
missed their time to piss.
They got disciplined for missing their fucking time to piss, but were never told about their time to piss.
Essentially, yeah.
And isn't that funny how it works?
Right.
So everyone failed you, and you're the one that gets in trouble for it. You're in trouble for something you didn't even know was. I was gonna say you got in trouble. You got bitched at for something that you had no idea was even gonna be a thing for you. So there was no way for you to take action to make sure that it went right, because no one informed you that there was even a thing to begin with. That's the military.
I mean, it ended there. It didn't go any further.
Oh,
we'd all always talked about it. Every time someone else came up for urinalysis, we were like, don't miss it. They take that shit seriously. You'll go to DRB. It was so fucking funny. Let's see. Coming back. So there's a thing called a Tiger Cruise, right? So a Tiger Cruise is where you can bring on family members, not your wives or spouses, or people under 18. because you don't want people fucking, right?
So who the fuck do you bring?
God forbid.
Yeah, right.
You can't
people
bring your
like
spouse. You can't bring your kids. It's like that's the only family I fucking have. What do you mean?
Kinda, but people will bring their family members, like their uncles, their parents. If they have kids that are over 18, they'll bring them on. And so they were planning this Tiger cruise for one day, right? It was just going to be from when we dropped the Marines off to getting back when we got back to Norfolk. So the plan had changed so many fucking times. So many fucking times. Like they truly didn't want this to fucking happen. It comes down to the day that they were supposed to come on, and they were going to be LCAC'd on. So I thought that was going to be hilarious because you're going to put civilians in an LCAC. That whole cabin is going to be full of puke because LCACs are not a smooth ride. Especially if there's waves, any type of waves, you're going to be bumping around quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the day we got there, so they all got bussed down from Norfolk at like 4 a.m. Like they all had to be down there. So people bought like plane tickets, people got hotels, everything. They had to pay for these buses. They get down to Norfolk.
I know where this is going.
The seas were too rough, and they had to they canceled the Tiger cruise. They had to send everyone back to Norfolk, and they're like, "We'll reschedule the Tiger cruise when the ship drops off ammo in New Jersey." I think that's like next month or something, in January. And I'm like, so you're like all these people that paid for plane tickets,
all these people that took time off work,
took time off work
paid for this,
like,
and then be like, "Oh, not happening." There's always next month, and it's like, what? You just pulled a fucking military green weenie on civilians.
On civilians, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to find. I still haven't done it. I should have. I wanted to see the hashtags or the social media posts about it, like from civilians. Oh, it would have been so good because I guarantee they would have been fucking pissed.
No, I would have been pissed too. It's like I just spent all this money for a ticket to come down here to see my kid or whatever the fuck, and do this tour, and you woke me up at 4 o'clock in the fucking morning to drive me down here just to tell me that I can't, to bring me back, and tell me that like next month would be the only other opportunity that I'm going to get to do this. It's like
and a lot of those people had to get another hotel room or an extra night because some of them, like, because we were coming back the next day, right? So they were going to have the homecoming that we were already going to have.
Yeah.
But they were going to be on ship for that night. So they had to get either a hotel or an extra night, depending on how long they were there. So they were there
a day longer than they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which means they would also have to change their flight.
Probably.
That's crazy.
Well, maybe. Because if everyone was going to be there for the homecoming, right? I almost guarantee no one was not going to be there for the homecoming. Actually, they had to have been because they were going to be on the ship regardless. But all of them got canceled. I actually didn't until now. I didn't even think about the hotel part. Like when they get back, they've got to find a place to stay.
And if they have to fly back, they have to change their flight.
They wouldn't have been flying back because the next day is when the ship pulled in. That's when they would have originally gotten back anyways.
Either way, figuring out where to stay for an additional day because the fucking military fucked you over. And it's like, oh, is this what it's like for all of them?
We started calling it, we got wasped. Every time something went wrong, we're like, wasped. I have a patch that WASP is an acronym because that's the ship that we were on. That WASP is an acronym is we always skip ports because every fucking port that we were supposed to go to got canceled. It got changed back to fucking Suda Bay. Suda Bay was like a running joke of our home port away from home.
Because that's where you guys always went for everything?
Pretty much, yeah. Like we went to Cyprus twice, right? And I loved Cyprus. I would have rather gone to Cyprus over anything, but we would always go back to Suda because we have a base there, right? Like we have presence, so it was easier. Mm-hmm. And I didn't give a shit because there was food on the pier and there was cell signal. Like in the overall sense, who cares? But it was annoying. It was our home port away from home.
Love that for you.
You're like, I'm out here. I'd like to see something different. I
would be
I'll
great.
see the
I
same
think,
thing again.
I think the most different thing that you saw was the fucking missiles hitting down on Gaza or whatever, or on fucking Israel.
Oh, dude, that shit was wild. I remember waking up and seeing the video.
I thought you were out
So
on
when-
the deck watching it.
No, I wasn't out there. At night, only flight deck personnel are allowed.
Oh, I thought you were watching that. I thought that video was yours.
I thought that was from your phone.
No, it wasn't my video.
Oh,
You can
what
see
the
it.
fuck?
No, you can you could see it from almost like a garage door to the hangar bay, or from the hangar bay to the flight deck. You can see it from there, but it wasn't my video because I'm not allowed on the flight deck at night. But I remember seeing it. I'm like, that's wild. And my first thought was, sick. That means we're probably gonna get
Extended.
no, I wasn't thinking of that. That means that we're probably gonna get hazard pay.
Nope.
And or tax-free pay. Literally never happened. The whole fucking time that we were there, we got hazard pay for like 7 days for our proximity to the Red Sea, and that was it.
Not for the actual missile strike that was happening
Not for
offshore from
anything.
you.
So there was a destroyer that was with us in the area that was part of shooting them down. They submitted for hazard pay and tax free for that whole area, and it backdates to, it would cover our whole deployment. So I could end up getting all of that money on the back, like tax free back, and also hazard pay once it gets approved, right? After the fact, tax wise, it's gonna be a fucking nightmare.
After the fact is such a wild thing too. It's like after
Like
the fact.
military pay after the fact, that's one thing, because that's not that. That's just,
How is deployment not already considered hazard pay?
you would think, right?
I don't get it. You know, and that's the thing, because when we went to Ukraine, it was like that too.
You know, they actually changed it, I think, at least for the Army. I think if the Army deploys, they get some type of like hazard pay.
Maybe now, because like when we went to Ukraine,
Yeah, now.
when we would go to Ukraine, we would only go for a couple months at a time, and then we'd rotate in and out, in and out. We didn't get fucking shit for that, because it was they did it like that to avoid giving us hazard pay.
Oh yeah,
They turned
They
it was a
ships do that shit all the time.
training rotation, and even Tony was like, they should have fucking paid you. You should have gotten paid more for that. I'm like, nope, they didn't consider it.
Ships do that all the time, especially with like family separation. You get family separation 30 days after you've been gone. Like, you know, I told you ships will go out to sea all the time. Ships will go out to sea for like 28, 29 days and then pull back in. Because then
Just
people don't get
avoid.
family separation. Yeah.
Gotta love it. It's all about that money, man.
And dude, it's so the lengths that the military will go to keep you from earning more money, and to keep from paying you more. It's crazy. Like like I told you, when we talked about the food situation, they wouldn't give us separate rations because we had an option to fucking eat on base, even though it was in a base that wasn't even ours.
They do their best to keep you miserable, but not give you any of the benefits of being miserable.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Dude, one
It's
of
like,
my
you know.
streamer friends was actually in Israel during the time that those missiles were going. And I talked to him when I got back, because he had gotten back like a week prior. And I was telling him about it. He's like, dude, he had thanked me like I had direct part of it. But he was
Thanks
like,
for stopping
honestly,
the missiles.
if it weren't for y'all destroying most of those missiles, he's like, I probably would have died, because my house was like near missiles that were landing.
I thought Israel has this Iron Dome that stops most of that shit.
I mean, they have a lot of our stuff, their own stuff.
So what, was it just too much ordnance that the Iron Dome couldn't keep up, that we had to have our ships shoot some down?
Probably. I mean, any system is going to get overwhelmed eventually,
Yeah.
if you really think about it. So we were out there shooting shit down, and I think the ships shot the majority of them down. But like, it was wild. In the video, when you see them like bursting or exploding,
That's
that's
them
us
getting
destroying
shot.
them.
Yeah. That's them getting shot down. That
And
was crazy. I was just like, oh, Doc's getting extended.
all So a lot of people thought so. And I figured, so what our mission was non-evacuant or non-combatant evacuation. After a while, that option was off the table, technically, because there's no one to really do it, right? And then shit was just too bad in general to do so. It just took forever for the Army to end up fucking getting their little task force committee set up and then figuring out an actual plan if shit happened. The other part was, I truly think it was because we're just so broken. We weren't going to serve a purpose. And then it's been all over the news about how broken amphibious ships have been, especially the platform that I was on. Because prior to us leaving, we had a major failure with the boiler, and they thought that we were going to be delayed for deployment.
I remember that.
And then the Boxer went out like a month before we were supposed to start our deployment, and they ended up having to come back after like a week because they had catastrophic failures that had to be emergently fixed. And it's well known, at least as far as the news says, that like this platform of ships is hurting because we've been extending them in the past for so long and so many times and cutting short maintenance periods that it's catching up to us, and we're busted as fuck. And a lot of the previous extensions that they have found were pointless. They were extended and nothing happened. They're like, so why are we extending the deployment, hurting the morale of our people, and also damaging our ships more? Like we're extending and shortening. We're shortening yard time for maintenance, and we're extending time out when they're already broken, right? So that was almost, I was pretty confident. Well, I would say 50-50. The military part of me still held on, like we're getting extended. But I was like, we're busted as fuck.
Nothing surprises me at this point.
We can't fucking do anything. And that was the consensus, I guess, is that we ended up going home. It just took us the week before we were, that's actually a week after we were supposed to know, because it ended up on the SecDef's desk, and then we had to wait for him.
They're waiting for the election.
Yeah, we had to wait for the election. And what I actually think happened was the decision was made before the election, because I was initially, I'm like, what the fuck does the
election
have to do?
They didn't want to tell you guys because you guys got votes, right? And if you get extended, chances are you weren't going to vote one way.
Well, but I mean, this was even after the extension or after the election. I'm like, what? Like, I understand a little bit before the election. I'm like, all right, cool. They're going to wait till after the election. But they waited like a week after. I'm like, what are we waiting for? And one, I'm like, it doesn't really matter anyways, because the new president can't do anything until January 16th or some shit, whenever they get sworn in. Mm-hmm. It doesn't affect us. What the fuck are we waiting for? So I think the decision was made before then, even before the election. They just didn't want to announce it, because I had heard people that I would have as patients that would work really closely with the Commodore, and they would all talk. They're like, he confidently says that we're not going anywhere. He just can't tell people yet. And I'm like, that's interesting. He's super confident that we're not going anywhere. That means to me that they knew, they just weren't allowed to announce it yet.
That's weird, though. Like, what was the purpose of that?
I have no idea. They said it was election things, and that's all they would say.
Yeah, but after the election was done, so what the fuck does it matter now?
I don't even know. It was strange.
Military,
they just didn't want to rile things up immediately after the election.
Military decisions, they make decisions that are just so strange all the time. Like, it's just like none of it makes sense. It's like, what the fuck for?
Regiment in this podcast is also partnered with BR Paradox. BR Paradox is a company that specializes in custom-built PCs. So if you have an idea for a cool custom-built PC, they can definitely give you the hookup on that. But if you're not in the market for custom PCs, BR Paradox has a wide array of pre-built PCs that you could choose from at great prices. And if you're not in the market right now for a new PC, BR Paradox will definitely hook you up with an optimization. Optimizations take around 10-15 minutes to do, and they're very awesome. I highly recommend them. I had my PC optimized by them, and it's never run smoother since. BR Paradox also has a list of renowned customers ranging from LeBron James, Chris Brown, members of FaZe Clan, and even Angela White from your favorite orange and black site, if you know what I mean. So head on over to brparadox.com to get yourself a PC today or an optimization. And remember to use promo code Regiment at checkout. That's promo code Regiment down here at checkout.
Oh, dude, there was this didn't happen on the deployment. It's just a story that was told to me on deployment. One of the former RDCs, so the people that go to boot camp and push boots, he was telling me about this two recruits that had a dick sucking competition.
What?
And I was like, I have so many questions. How do you have a dick sucking competition? I can understand two people are like, hey, let's see who sucks the most dick. He said he came in and I was like, did they get to do it? He said, yeah, there was like 30 some people.
What?
Yeah, like 30 some people got their dick sucked. I'm like,
what?
I have so many more questions.
Wait, so like,
how do you even go about that? How do you approach someone and be like, hey man, me and him are having this dick sucking contest. Who can suck the most dicks? You want your dick sucked?
Yeah, I guess that's exactly how you would do it.
30 people said yes.
That's what I'm like confused by. It's like I can imagine maybe one or two, but 30?
Because they got caught because they were caught in the act, like when the RDCs came in.
What the fuck?
Awesome.
What the
I'm like,
fuck?
How does this happen? And there was
Were they
another
just
story.
standing in line.
Bro, I have no fucking idea.
The whole the 30 people. That's like most of the fucking. That's most of the fucking barracks. Like
That's
that
half.
class. That's like
The
half
squad
the class.
That's half, yeah. It's about 80 people in there.
Could you imagine being the guy to walk in on that? And you're like, "What's this line? What are you doing? Standing in line? Waiting on a beach. What? Yeah, go look at the front of the line.
That shit was wild. He told me another story of this like cookie smuggling ring. I'm like, what?
That one
That's
is
not-
more practical,
That was
honestly.
understandable.
That one's
We just want
understandable.
peanut butter packet.
But
So
a-
it was
a
the way
fucking
that it was going on.
like a 30-man dick sucking ring. That's weird.
Shit's wild.
That's an anomaly.
But it was like a drug ring with the cookies. Like, I guess there's a compartment that they keep all the cleaning supplies. There was like a hole in the wall that had been passed down from recruit to recruit, like who took over. And they would just shove mass amounts of cookies and just like things from the galley in there and everything. And they would like sell it for trade shit. It was like the drug lord in this little fucking closet where they would give out cleaning supplies. And the RDC that found it, he was like, I wasn't even mad. I was impressed because of the size and sheer amount of shit that was in there. And like how long that it had gone for. Because I guess he had talked to the current cookie lord, and he was like, yeah, I'm like the 9th recruit or whatever to take this over. So that means
It's been
that's
going
almost
on.
like,
It's been going on for 9 cycles. Like what the fuck?
yeah,
Awesome.
that's like 2 years
That's awesome.
of fucking recruits. That this cookie ring was going on. No one had any idea. I immediately thought of like Orange is the New Black. I'm like, what is happening right now?
It's funny because you know that the first one that did that was just like, hey, by the way, I have this underground cookie operation. And we're done. So you got to keep this under wrap. I want to see how long we can keep this going.
You know how it got found out?
Someone snitched.
It was the
yes.
30 dudes.
So it was the 30 dudes. Someone got denied cookies, and they were like, I don't get cookies? Bet. Nobody gets cookies. Whole operation.
It's always
Shut
there's
down.
always
You know what?
one. There's always one.
You know what? Good for him.
He shut
Good
down.
for him.
He shut down a 2-year operation.
He probably got
Because,
his
like,
ass fucking
You
beat.
can't you can't tell someone no when they're in the no. And you know how much trouble you can get in if just one person.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's like you saying no to a person, you're gambling with the whole thing. It's just like if I say like you piss the wrong one person off, it's like you're doing something wrong and you fucking piss someone off that wants to do wrong with you and you know you're doing wrong, you can almost bet that person is going to ruin it for you.
Guaranteed. Apparently he wasn't even. I can almost guarantee this dude got his ass fucking beat. Something.
Oh,
something
I'm sure.
happened to him.
It's like you just
He
really.
got-
I want to know what this kid did for someone to be like, you can't have a cookie.
Yeah,
It's a cookie.
he was probably
It's
fat.
a cookie.
He was probably fat and holding everybody
they
back.
didn't shit about
yeah.
that. It was a trade. It was all my what you can do for me.
Well, he was probably like not losing the weight and getting the rest of his class mixed with.
You gotta
all the
think
other RDCs, and they
it's
were like,
only
"Dude,
gonna it's
no."
really gonna be the fat people that are like really getting the cookies.
I know, but it's like if they can keep up with, not being fat and keeping up with PT and stuff and not getting everybody fucked up for their decisions and eat the cookies, then it's okay. But if you're just a fat fuck and you don't want to do the work to kind of get better and get better at PT and you're dragging everyone behind and everyone's getting fucked up for it, it's like, hey, man, we can't give you any more cookies because you're obviously not like picking up your own weight, literally and figuratively speaking.
I honestly kind of want after one of my favorite chiefs. Honestly, one of my favorite chiefs of all time. My time in the Navy was a Greenside chief on board. He was a prior RDC too, and he was telling us stories. I'm like, I kind of want to be an RDC. Like after hearing the story, just the ridiculousness of stories. I'm like, because I've always kind of thought that I would be like, I think I could be an RDC. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be funny. We all have funny stories from boot camp, right?
Mhm.
Just hearing them, I'm like, this would be hilarious.
It would be
Just to
hilarious.
watch 'em do it.
But yeah, until it's hilarious until you walk into a fucking platoon-sized dick sucking ring. Then it's
That's a story, man.
That's a story, but
Oh.
that's also like, how did this happen? like,
I would have
like you're
so
not
many
helping our
questions.
reputation, you fucks. Like
That's true.
I guarantee that conversation was had.
That was my first thought. When the dude was telling me, I'm like,
and this is
that's
why
not helping any Navy jokes.
no, like
for one.
this actually adds fuel to the Navy jokes. Like, come on now. Like, and it's funny to think at Great Lakes Naval Base. I've never been in any of those barracks. I have no idea what it's like in those barracks. So
The boot camp ones aren't that bad. I mean, it's just squad bay, I think,
I don't know.
with bunk beds.
I've always wanted to go on base and into the fucking training area and kind of like in the TRADOC area to kind of see what
Here's
it looks like.
Here's my thing
Trash.
too, though. How late into their cycle was it? Because if this was like 2 weeks in,
This is
You know.
so many. There's so many unanswered questions.
There was
that I
there was
had.
actually like a cycle before mine. Either it was a cycle before mine or it was actually mine. I can't remember now, but it was definitely one of the cycles around mine where there were these like the girls were doing something like that, where it was just like all these chicks were just fucking muff diving each other, like, and then somebody walked in on it and there was like 10 of them, like just fucking doing lesbian shit.
Doing lesbian shit.
Like literally, they were just eating each other out
One
and
way to put
fucking
it.
scissoring and shit, like, and just playing with each other's pussies. Like that's someone walked, and then there was actually a video that circulated around back in like 2014, 2015 of girls in reception, because in the Army we have a reception battalion. I don't know if the Navy and Marine Corps is like this. So a
What is
reception battalion is basically where you go to get all your shots and shit.
yeah, we have that.
So like it's
sort of.
it's called reception.
Sometimes we do.
You do all your admin shit. Your phones don't get taken away yet, at least.
Oh no, we don't have that.
Like, so basically, like you're there, you have formations and stuff, and you're marching and shit. And like there are, and it's not run by it's run by some drill sergeants, but they're not like full on drill. It's cadre that's running this thing, and
Mhm.
you go. This is where you get your hair done. This is where you get your processing done, your shots and all that shit. So it's a whole separate battalion from basic. And
We only have that for like the first 2 days.
this is sometimes like a week-long process or more, because during this, those drill sergeants are wrapping up the last cycle and waiting
Yeah.
for you to come in. So
Oh, interesting.
these girls got caught because they recorded it and posted it on the internet.
Shocker.
Just like straight up fucking orgy, lesbian orgy in the barracks and the reception. And all these girls, like, it's like they're all standing around and then each taking turns on it and shit.
You gotta think Think of how many more times that's already happened.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Like these stories aren't the first times that these have happened, right?
No. No, it's just now it's documented.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff that gets my mind, right?
Where do you
like,
find the time?
especially early on in the training process. Like, you're doing stuff all the time. The only time that you're not doing stuff is when it's like, here's your 8 hours to sleep.
Yeah.
Try to get it. Where are you finding the time in your head to where it's like, yeah, I could spend time doing this.
Dude,
The last thing on my mind was anything like that. It was like, you're telling me I get to go to bed now? Awesome. I was out in 2 seconds.
Same with
every
me,
night.
Same with me. Like in basic training, it took me 3 or 4 weeks to realize that I hadn't taken a shit. And I was
Really?
like, yeah, I was, because we were just doing shit all the time. I didn't think about pooping at all. I didn't think about nothing. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I was walking back from the barracks or walking back from chow. I'm like, when's the last time I took a shit? And as soon as I thought that, my body's like, it's going to be now, bitch. And it's like, oh. and that was, to this day, the largest and longest turd I've ever dropped was the one that after that, because it had been weeks and I hadn't pooped. And I didn't realize I hadn't pooped.
Were you allowed to poop in the middle of the day?
Yeah.
And we were not.
Well,
We were only allowed to poop on our own time at night.
Okay, so like here's how it worked. Between chow, we would go to chow, and after chow, you had like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to fucking get everything out of you, because everywhere we went for training had a bathroom. Not all of them were great. A lot of them were those fucking outside bathrooms where, like, you got the rows of toilets, and inside is one giant tank underneath it that they just pour ammonia in it and never flush it. So that's what we had. So like at night, obviously you have time to go to the bathroom and shit. There was one time. Okay, so speaking of like, where do you find the time? So there was just one night in particular. It was like halfway through. I'm like, all of a sudden was like, I need to crank one out now. I gotta. It's just like, I didn't think about it. And then here's the thing. You don't think about it. And the second you think about it, your body is like, get it out. Like it must be done. Like you don't think about it. And the moment you think about it, whether it be poop or jerking off, the second you think about it is when your body is like, get rid of it now. So of course,
dude, jerking off on ship. Nope. That ain't it.
Dude, like I had to go in the bathroom and fucking crank one out in the toilet, and then I ended up falling asleep. And I fell
on the toilet.
Yeah, I fell asleep like right after,
like dick in hand.
Yep. And drill sergeant walked in. Like, who's in here? And I'm like, I am drill sergeant. He's like, what are you doing? Like, well, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, Roger, drill sergeant. And he's like, I'm like, he thought I was in there asleep. Actually, no.
You were asleep.
No, okay, I'm mistaken. There was another time where I fell asleep, but it wasn't this one. There was one time where I had gone in there, cranked one out, and I was in the middle of cleaning up, and drill sergeant walked in. And it was the female drill sergeant. Yeah.
No female. No female on board, incoming, whatever.
No, well, she was the drill sergeant.
We still gotta say it.
No.
Yeah.
It was just like
in the bathroom.
Yeah, like walked in the barracks and like fucking no at ease, nothing.
The Navy would never.
And I'm sitting there like, who's in here? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why are you in here? Like, what the fuck? So I'm like,
dude,
I'm like literally in the middle of cleaning myself off, right? And like, and she's like, they thought, and they were yelling at me, thinking that I'm in there sleeping. And I'm like, negative, drill sergeant. I didn't want to tell them what I was really doing. I was accepting of getting bitched at for falling asleep.
They knew what you were doing.
No, they said they were like, you in there sleep. They straight up thought I was in there sleeping because I was on fire guard. There was 2 of us on fire guard, and I went in there and I was like, hey, I got to take a shit. I'll be right back.
I mean, being an RD, being like a drill sergeant, drill instructor, RDC, I equate it to being like a parent, or like when you grow up and like you're like, oh, my parents definitely knew what the fuck I was doing or had an idea. because they did the same shit.
Well, they came in there. They thought
That's so similar.
Well, they straight up thought I went in there to go to sleep because it was like in one of the the middle of the night shifts for fire guard, and I was on it.
That's the top. That's like the top most common. That's
Yes.
initially what they're thinking, and then the second one they're probably like, "Dude's probably jerking off,"
No, they didn't even think that I was jerking off. They were yelling at me for falling asleep.
or they didn't tell you
They
because they can't get you in trouble for jerking off.
Right. Well, I told him I was like, I was in here taking a shit, drill sergeant. Like, bullshit, you were sleeping. I was like, negative, drill sergeant. I was in here taking a shit, and I haven't shit in days, and like I was because they're like, get the fuck out here, and I'm finishing the clean off, and I'm like, Roger, I'm just trying to wipe, drill sergeant. I'm like,
Perception.
I'm like basically
Perception
saying
is reality.
I'm basically saying that I'm wiping a marker, and fucking flush. And I walk out, they're like, you were fucking sleeping. And I was like, no, I was taking a shit, drill sergeant. I'm wide awake. I'm not sleeping. I had to get it out. And then the female,
That part's true.
I did have to get it out. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, why the fuck is she in here? There was a male.
Did I actually
she had a
remember
male
the first time I jerked off in boot camp?
You do?
Yeah,
I do too.
It was like
it was insane.
It was like a month in.
It was
At least a month in.
It was about the same for me. It was a month in because you don't think about it for that first month, and then that
It's
other
it's a different color.
what?
Yeah, mine was like it had like almost like a yellowish tinge.
I never did.
I don't know
You
about that.
you
homie.
never jerked off in boot camp?
No, never had the need to.
He didn't have the time.
Never thought about it. Like I said, when it was time to go to sleep, that's all that was on my mind because I was
See,
exhausted.
It's different for y'all because your guys' bathrooms are just a room of toilets.
Yeah, we don't have stalls.
Yeah.
You're
We
sitting there
have
like when you're
stalls.
taking a dump, you're across from somebody and you're looking them in the eye.
You're not gonna crank one out
Legitimately.
like
Like you've seen Full Metal Jacket, that's what their heads are.
Yeah, it's the same. We had the reason I asked earlier if you were allowed to take a dump during the day, we weren't. And this one kid had to go so bad. He went in there and tried to be sneaky. And our drill instructor comes in, he's yelling at everybody, and he turns the corner to where all the shitters are, and he sees this dude sitting there, and he's just like, and the drill instructor's like, I didn't tell you to take a shit, and he grabs him.
Oh
and
no!
throws him off the toilet and makes him pick his pants up. Doesn't let him wipe. I think he might have been mid-log. Like, throws him off of the toilet. It's like, get the fuck out of the head. We all get rushed out of there, and we're like in the middle of like shaving. So like half of us get out of there.
The
with, like,
hand motion
half-shaved
was
faces.
completely not what. Yeah.
Oh no. Well, we were like in there shaving. So some people get out with like half-shaved faces to get yelled at later in the day because this kid wanted to take a dump, you know. So the end of the day sucked because usually at least one toilet got clogged, and we had about 8 to 10 for 80 people. So it was just like, you know, and by the end of it, I think we lost 2 toilets because they were just couldn't use them. They were broken at this point.
We had
And
pinch it off. Like
there
they
was
would
a
say pinch it
line.
off.
Yeah, no, we didn't get it. That was like you can only poop on your own time. And like you were talking about toilets at training facilities, we had those, but in order to keep you from taking a dump, they never had toilet paper. They didn't stock them with toilet paper. So, like, if you did, you better hope that you grabbed a napkin
What is
out
the
of your
purpose
MRE or
of
something.
that?
Time. It was like we do not have a time to poop, and
How
we
often did you have MREs?
Not that often. I think at the end we had MREs, but we would often get the little chow boxes, the white box with like
the bag
crappy
nasties
sandwich and like the egg and everything in it.
Fucking bag nasties.
Yeah, and then the little like thin napkin. So,
God
Goddamn.
help you if
Yeah.
a sickness fucking spread. And
yeah.
everyone's
Well,
got
everyone's
got the shits.
you got put on a mattress in a trailer with no kind of insulation or AC and separated. And the trailer, I don't think had a bathroom.
What?
I think they had porta johns outside. So like all the sick recruits would have to go sit in this trailer on a mattress on the floor until they were deemed better.
When did you go to boot camp?
I went in the summer of 2016.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it was not a pleasant experience.
They straight
I've
up
never heard
they quarantined sick recruits.
Yeah, because like VGE would go around pretty often. So
Those
like
nasty
they would just take all
motherfuckers
the
out there
recruits
that's not
and
washing their
throw 'em.
hands and shit.
Yeah, I mean, but like you would run out of hand sanitizer because you were either, as you know, you're either using it to clean your hands or huff it. So you'd run out of hand sanitizer and then you don't have any. And then you're in a spot where it's like, can't wash your hands. And they're like, well, stuff some jow in your face. We got to go.
I'm sorry. Are we just
And
gonna
people
walk
just-
past the part that we're huffing hand sanitizer?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
You guys, hey, you didn't do that?
Excuse me?
No.
So if you're sitting in class, right? Obviously you can't fall asleep. And like they wouldn't even let our backs touch the back of the chair.
Yeah, we can.
Because they're like, you're going to fall asleep if you do that. I'm sure that's a universal thing. But like we're falling asleep, every single one of us. So we would take some hand sanitizer, put it in our hands, and then just, and you just be like, oh, and it'd wake you up for 20, 30 minutes. And then it's like,
we didn't
you're
have
sitting there
chairs to
tight
sit in.
sleep
We,
like this. So you,
we
do it
either
again.
stood around in a circle or sat on the floor.
We did that too.
There was no
yeah,
chairs.
we just sat in we sat in a little chair in an auditorium on the edge of it.
There would be chairs sometimes. Like if we had to go to a specific thing, or it was getting our cat card. There were specific events. I remember there were chairs. Even when we got our banks started, it was in our fucking birthing where we would be on the floor. You got 78 people getting Navy Fed in the massive group, and then like 2 random people getting USA.
Did y'all do the thing where you hit each other to keep each other awake?
No.
Excuse me?
We would we got told by our drill instructors, they're like, if we catch any of you sleeping, this whole platoon's gonna pay. We catch one person. So we got to the point where we got
fucked up 4
getting
other
in
people.
trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got to the point we got tired of it. We started like if someone looked like their head that looked like they were bobbing for cock, we would in the middle of class just reach back, boom, and just smack them on either the back of the head and wake them up.
Oddly enough, not a single person in my fucking class had issues staying awake.
Mm.
That
We
was,
had
I don't know
dudes-
why, but people were not falling asleep. Everybody was wide the fuck awake. The only thing that we had issues with of getting fucked up all the time was this one dude and this girl kept sneaking off with each other, and we'd get fucked up for that.
That's annoying.
Yeah,
That's you just fight them.
We told him like stop.
Equal left. Equal
We're like,
rights.
dude, we're like, you need to fucking stop. Like, you're getting us all fucked up. And I'm like, are you fucking her? And he's like, no, we don't get to do that. I'm like, so what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, you're just getting us yelled at and fucking smoked for no reason.
Mhm.
And because they would sneak off on Sundays at church, they go to church together and just to hang out with each other. And then the drill sergeants obviously caught on to it, smoked the fuck out of all of us for it. And then, of course, at the end of the day, they ended up breaking up after basic anyway. So I was like,
always.
and I was like, was it worth it? Was it worth it? You know, I'm just fucking, yeah.
Do you want to hear the icing on the cake? Like when we got back?
Yes, I do.
Mhm.
We got to wrap it up. That's why I want to hear the icing right now.
So, you know, when you deploy, you either get rid of your car, you put it in storage, or like you give it to someone you trust so they can like drive it a little bit or like start it every so often.
Yeah.
Or if you put it in storage, you disconnect the battery. So one of my dumb fucks left his car in the parking lot for one. When those parking lots are notorious for flooding frequently. Also getting broken into because everyone knows when ships deploy. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, that car's been sitting here for a while. That person's probably deployed. Break into the fucking car. Left his car there the whole time. And we're pulling in. And he's like, I wonder if my car will start. I'm like, did you leave your car here? He said, yeah. Why wouldn't I? I need a way to get home. I'm like, I guarantee you, your car is not going to start. You're a fucking idiot. We all leave ship. We had to leave in different portions because I wasn't getting into dress blues to get off. People in dress blues got to get off first. I was like, no. People get off the ship. He messages our group chat. Anyone have any jumper cables?
Dude, we don't have cars, dude.
Bro. One of one of our sailors comes, she was with her family who had apparently just gone to a funeral. I'm like, their family has dealt with enough dead shit today. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Your car doesn't need to be one of them. So they go to jump his car. Like it was so dead it wouldn't even turn. It would just you turn the key and nothing happens.
Mhm.
And they connect his shit. They leave. Motherfucker turns his car off.
Oh, you
He didn't, like-
idiot.
He didn't leave it long enough to let it even fucking charge. So he turns his car off. And like he comes back on shit because he forgot something. I'm like, bro, are you fucking kidding me? He goes to start his car, nothing again. We had to call one of us again. No, we didn't have jumper cables. And he's got like a sports car, so like something endurance or for high performance or whatever. So it takes more juice. We had to go buy a separate battery because the Navy Exchange stopped selling them. He's like, oh, that's my fucking luck. Hauling his ass around to the fucking AutoZone, coming back to his car on base. I'm like, this is not what we wanted on the day of coming back. I was dealing with your fucking car issues.
Yeah.
We're getting his car, we get him a new battery, and then he goes on his fucking way. But when he when he told us that he shut his car off, I'm like, you're an idiot. You don't even deserve this car for one. He's like, this is my baby.
You know, I'm gonna be honest.
You abandoned your baby. You abandoned your baby for this whole deployment. What the fuck you mean?
I half expected you to say that he came back and his fucking wheels were gone. It was on blocks.
Yeah.
That'd have been impressive on base, honestly. Off base, almost
fucking-
guaranteed.
In Fort Bragg, dude, there are gangs in Fort Bragg.
I believe that.
Like there are like within the Army, there are active gangs.
You mean Fort Liberty?
Fuck you. It's Bragg. Like I even heard this dude, he used to be a former 82nd Airborne, now he's a fucking gang unit officer in Fayetteville, talking about how like there are active gangs within the 82nd Airborne. Like there's gang shootings on fucking Fort Bragg.
We've reported on it before.
Yeah. There's
Like the drug rings and shit.
active fucking gangs have gang shootings and shit all the time on Fort Bragg. Isn't that crazy?
So dumb.
There's chop shops outside of most military bases.
Dude, yeah, 100%. Because they know that everyone buys those fucking Chargers and Mustangs. So, you know.
Well, the military usually is in just like the lowest,
Oh, the worst of the worst.
just the worst economical areas because it's the cheapest.
Always.
cheapest land.
Well, Doc, we're glad to have you back. We've got many things to do now. Now that you're,
We should label this death by 1,000 cuts.
death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah, I mean, sure.
Or Newport.
Or welcome back, Doc.
Or-
That's what
or
I was going
30.
to do.
That's not gonna. I'm talking about. I'm trying to get clicks, clicks and views here.
Here's the thing, man. Like, I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works, but because randomly episodes will get hundreds of views for some reason.
I've noticed that.
And-
Well,
and
I
some
also
will just get, like,
wonder
50.
if it's always if it's near a giveaway or something.
I think it is usually because it's always 600 to 1,000 views and 5 likes. It's like, who watched this? To be fair, I'll watch videos and not like it.
Oh yeah, I barely.
I do that a
actually
lot.
Like a video.
So it could be a lot of
Yeah.
people are watching it and just not interacting, which is a very common thing on YouTube. I do that all the fucking time. So
Mhm.
the low.
I think it's because it creates. It's like a playlist. And to me, I'm like, I don't want all these videos in this playlist. If I like a video specifically, that means I'm gonna go back to this playlist and like go to this video eventually. So like content videos for like editing or something like that, I'll usually like because I can go back to that video
yeah.
because it's in that playlist. But there's other videos that obviously I like that video. I know that it helps that person on YouTube. I don't want it in that playlist though.
Right. Well, we got to wrap this up. Blake's got to get back to the kids.
Mhm.
He's neglected them long enough.
Harpy.
But yeah, it's good to have you back, buddy. And
We gotta get some more Helldivers in.
I stopped playing it. I uninstalled it.
The
Uh,
Illuminates are here, and
Oh yeah.
it's a mix between the bots and the bugs, and
Dude,
it's awful.
It took. What do you mean it's a mix between the bots and the bugs?
Because they can shoot at you, but they also hoard you like the bugs do. So it's like
Oh.
a mix of fighting styles.
So like, they took way too long to introduce that.
They
There's
did,
there's just a lot of
but-
things that happen that cause the player base to just dip.
I remember seeing the news about it when I got internet.
Yeah, like basically they just kept like, and here's the thing: ever since that PlayStation thing, there are still countries that do not have access to that game anymore.
It's crazy.
Even though they backtracked on doing that, those countries still the people that had the game that were in those countries still can't play the game.
Or they just aren't.
No, they can't. They have no access to it. Even though that PlayStation said that they wouldn't do that, they still did it and never gave it back.
That sucks.
So that's why a lot of people are still like, I'm not playing this anymore. Plus, it's just they're not rolling out content fast enough. Like even the CEO, stepped down to be a developer again, and someone else took over.
I remember that.
So,
well, that's just because he wanted to do his passion.
Yeah,
he didn't want to run everything. I can respect that.
Yeah,
especially because he also took a pay cut for that.
He did,
and willingly. I'll respect the fuck out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, so it was good having you back. We look forward to having you on more episodes again.
Like the video.
Like and subscribe to the video. It helps the algorithm. We need more people to watch because, otherwise, why the fuck am I doing this? I'm just kidding.
Tell us your favorite one of my cuts to die.
Yeah, tell us about your fucking favorite deployment story. How's that?
Tell us your deployment story.
Tell us your deployment story. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Barracks Party. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.